The right hand lead by Maidana that sticks. Another right hand. Jordan goes down for the first time in his career.
More than 2 minutes to go in this round. Anthony Joshua is a composed and ferocious finisher. Watch this.
21 knockouts in 21 wins for Anthony Joshua. The chance for the right hand. Ruiz is staggered and an uppercut. Trying to hold on. Strafing right. Ruiz comes to fire back. And Joshua's hurt. Oh, Joshua goes down. Andy Ruiz caught him with a sharp left hook. Joshua's hurt. To evade. Down goes Young on a thunderous left hook.
And that is the vaulting power that we're talking about. Nonito Donaire at this weight class, 118 pounds. Everybody better watch out.
Who the fuck is he talking about?
Oh, great shot from Fury. Terrific right hand. Oh, and down he goes. Right hand, left hand. And I don't think he's going to get up. I think it's all over. I think it's over. Is he going to get up? Can he get up? Can he get up? He does. Oh my goodness. Somehow Fury has managed to get up.
The contract's been signed for February 22nd. Agree, or you will have a lawsuit on your head. You little maggot!
Another 1-2.
Look at Mayorga. Fight's on. Let me tell you, Mayorga, this gets Mayorga into it. He just let him hit him on left hand. Look at him. Right hand. And look at Mayorga.
Oh, wait a minute. Wonder hit Breazeale so hard. They are feeling it in Brazil. Mamma mia. What a KO.
He clearly landed more power shots. And if Triple G didn't have the chin of God, he would have been knocked the fuck out.
I tell you what, he could have knocked out a racehorse with that left hook.
Right hand up one, and he has to come behind the jab, you know, to get close.
Oh! One punch knockdown. One shot by the young star. This fight is over.
Fantastic fitness levels here from Lewis Whitson here in his last round. Bowman, firing shot. That's it. 15-12 punch combination from Buckwood Davies.
Terrific action in the last round, just like there was in the first three.
I feel like you just fucking me with no Vaseline.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes, yes, yes. What is up? What is up, MCR family? Another daily edition of the show live on YouTube, obviously podcast from iTunes, Spotify, radio, etc. I'm Matt, the Hipster Hunter. We're going to be talking all things boxing today. We haven't been on for a few days. Took a little bit of a mini vacation. Went out, did some duck hunting in the Central Valley. I know a bunch of the vegans are going to hate that. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. My bad. But digressing from that, a lot to get into on today's show. DAZN having part ownership of Matchroom, as well as Golden Boy. A lot to sort of dissect with that. What does it mean? What it could possibly mean? A huge article from Thomas Hauser detailing a lot of DAZN and sort of what their state is right now in boxing, and there's going to be a part 2 coming out soon. A lot to get to on today's show. Terence Crawford having his buddy call out every welterweight on the planet on Instagram. I think that's going to be the closest thing we get to Terence Crawford call out ever. So a lot to get to on today's show. I'm joined, as usual, on this show by Gary. Rob and Fu are busy. You know how they are. They're busy men working. We're lazy men doing podcasting here, Gary. Gary, how are you, man, in Dallas?
Good. I was going to make a joke that Matt went blue catfishing in the Mississippi, but then he actually surprised me and did do country things. So I had no idea Matt took a vacation to go hunting and shooting.
Yeah, I haven't been in a few years because of just work and, you know, my having a kid and everything. And we did the math. Me and my dad haven't been hunting in 4 years. So this was nice to go back and go hunting. We got shit-faced drunk on Friday night. It was great time. Great time. We had some. This is going to be really country, and I'm going to say this term, and I think you and like 5 other people are going to get this. We had some mountain oysters as well. Delicious. Wow. I have a huge story. Maybe we get into it later on the show, but I have a funny story about those mountain oysters. And if you don't know what they are, just Google mountain oysters right now.
Don't look at the images though.
Oh my god. But digressing, Andre in the chat saying Happy New Year, man. Hit that like button. Thank you to the super chat, Andre, a long-time supporter and listener. And thank you for all you guys listening and supporting. In 2020, heading into a new decade, it's year 4 or 5 of me doing podcasting and doing this shit. So always appreciate you guys supporting me. Lunatic in the chat saying mountain oysters. That's testicles, right? Digressing. Gary, how have you been on the last 4 days of not doing any show, man? I was
bored. I got to watch some football. I hadn't got to watch much football because I've been doing this almost all football season. So, like, I have to watch. I've always watched a ton of boxing, but now I literally can't miss a fight. Like, I have to watch every single fight. Like, even like the undercards, which go on for hours now on the streaming apps. Like, boxing has ruined my fanhood of every other sport. But with no boxing these last few days, I've gotten to watch a lot of college football and then the NFL playoffs. I've watched every NFL playoff game so far.
Wow, really? Every single one?
There's only been 3, but there was the 2 yesterday and then 1 today. Now the Eagles and the Seahawks are on now, and I'm gonna text my wife to record that.
Yeah, you should probably do that. And speaking of those college football games, not college football games, but playoff football games for the NFL, one was on CBS, one was on ESPN. From my knowledge, there was some promos on, sorry, not CBS, Fox and ESPN. There was some promos on the Fox telecast of the NFL playoff game, mainly though for the J-Rock card, not for the Wilder Fury card. And there was, as far as we know, no promos on the ESPN. I think it was the Texans and Bills game. Both games pulled in over 30 million viewers each. So they need to start, like, it seems like missed opportunities. If I'm Fox/ESPN, I would be putting on promos constantly of that fight. Constantly. And you, at this time, like, they have to have, let's say, like a half a dozen different promo packages to cycle them through. So it's not the same promo package. Like, come on, like, you're fucking Disney, ABC, ESPN. You guys can do it. Fox, you guys can do it. It seems like there's been very little promotion for the big 2 million pay-per-view buy rate fight coming up on the biggest games of the year so far.
And it's going to be $80. So 2 million pay-per-views at $80 a pop. I don't know if anyone knows how to do math. I don't, but I'm sure that's a big number. You know, like, I don't know, like, if you want to make that much money, you might have to break a few eggs here. And it just seems like he got 30 million viewers, 34 million viewers. Why not run a few ads, right? Like, you ran ads for J-Rock versus
Rosario. Yes.
And like, I'm going to watch that fight only because I have to do the show. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you're not going to put any money into Wilder Fury? I mean, it seems like a big fight, right? Like, it's the biggest fight of the year in America, for sure. And it will be the biggest fight of the year unless they do a trilogy and something happens. But, I mean, Wilder Fury is the biggest fight in America. So why don't they treat it that way? Are they just going to try to do this in the week or two before the fight?
That's what it seems like. Maybe a month. You know, that 4-week period seems to be a huge promo push by the networks.
Yeah, but we're only a month and a half out now. We're not that far out from it. The 22nd?
Yeah.
So that's 31, 17, 48 days out. That's 7 weeks. I mean, but like, okay. I mean, it's not like
I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm agreeing with you, Gary. I'm just saying this is what they're going to do. It's unfortunate. They should be running ad after ad, and hell, buy up space in the other networks. To be honest, why not? I know it's more costly for ads for these playoff games than usual. You know, just 2:00 games, but you have to do it.
But Matt, they're running ads for Williams Rosario. You know what I'm saying?
No. They were running it on their own network. I was speaking of buying up ads on like a NBC game or something like that. Like, start being really aggressive with the promotion, not just on your own networks, but branch. Yeah, like, you have to. You're gonna have to spend so much more money in terms of marketing to make money back. Like, you're probably gonna have to spend $20 to $40 million only on marketing alone if you actually want to make this a 2 million pay-per-view buy rate event. and clear $100 million in revenue, right? And then you're going to make a net revenue of like $20 million something dollars in just in U.S. revenue. Do that. Like, that's what you have to do. They're not doing that. They're still sticking to the as we can tell right now, the same level of promotion. But that was sort of a minor topic. Matthew D'Souza saying, Matt, out of interest, what do you hunt? This time it was a duck hunt with some geese, obviously, but we didn't get any geese. Let's move to the news of the day, Gary. We're going to cover fights either tomorrow or Tuesday. Haven't decided, just with scheduling with my kid, what I'm going to do tomorrow because he wants to go like Knott's Berry Farm, so haven't decided yet. But digressing, let's get to the news of the day, Gary. Let's sort of break down in aspect and in parts this article from Thomas Hauser on Boxing Scene, what's happening with DAZN Part 1. And most of it is stuff that we've known, stuff that we've discussed on the show ad nauseum, stuff that I've written in my own article. Check out on mixedcombatradio.com. So, again, not super expansive in terms of knowledge, but there are, in my opinion, two things that we can find out or that we know now from this article, differing subjects, so to speak, but under the DAZN umbrella. One is obviously the DAZN ownership or part ownership of Matchroom Boxing. Around, it's actually, I think it's specifically 40%. Matchroom Boxing LLC, their USA holding, though specifically it's not their Matchroom Boxing USA Limited England holdings and country of incorporation. They only own the USA portion of their incorporation. Just want to make that distinction. I don't know if it's a significant one, just want to make that distinction. So, Gary, we now know that DAZN has some percentage ownership and investment of Golden Boy, obviously through the whole Canelo Golden Boy fiasco. We found that information out. Now we know that DAZN has a 40% ownership of the USA incorporation. Thoughts on DAZN buying?
Well, we don't know that it's a 40% stake. We are assuming that, but I think that's a large assumption to think that they own everything that
Well, Thomas Hauser's reporting that it's 40%, and then this separate piece came out that was a financial document detailing their holdings and percentage of shareholders. So these are two separate sort of pieces of evidence that corroborate each other. That's what a lot of people are saying.
Okay, because I thought that was Thomas Hauser's assumption, which means that no one else, no billionaire, no rich guy owns any part of this, which I thought was probably not the case. But if there's two reports saying that it's true, then it's probably true. So now I have to amend my talking points because there's been corroborating evidence. But okay, then Matchroom, then DAZN owns everything else in Matchroom, which is a lot of money.
And quickly, let me try to find it very fast. Chris Williamson, also a Boxing Scene, was the one that corroborated the 40% mark.
This is just Matchroom USA, right?
Yes, they're English incorporations, which are obviously you have darts, snooker, you have those divisions of Matchroom, completely separate. I think Sky has some ownership of those. They only own around 56% of the World Snooker Holding Limited, Professional Darts Competition Limited. They own around 56%. But their Matchroom Boxing Limited, which is incorporated in England, and their Matchroom Boxing USA Limited, incorporated in England, they own 100%. Their Matchroom Boxing LLC incorporation in the United States, they own 60%. But also, just want to briefly get to this, Matchroom's revenue and operating margin, Chris Williamson reporting that their boxing division made 4.9 million pounds in profit or on a turnover of 69 million pounds, year ended in June 2018. So that means out of a total gross profit of 69 million, they made a net profit of 4.9 million. Gary, back to you.
Matchroom USA is still based in England, even though its name is whatever it is. Matchroom USA is still an English.
Well, that's where I do want like a follow up here, because this is getting reported as Matchroom Boxing USA, DAZN owns 40%. But specifically in this financial document, it says Matchroom Boxing USA, what's it be, limited. I'll go back to it really fast. It's also in the group chat if you want to see it, Gary, if you want to see it personally, in the topics part. World Boxing USA Limited, which is incorporated in England, they own 100% of the shares. And then Matchroom Boxing LLC, which is incorporated in, obviously, the USA, they own 60%. Now, I don't understand the distinction between those two in terms of what's a subsidiary of the other. You know, I don't know. I need more information about that. Also, a little more information about the profit margins to understand really if that's a good number or not.
Because what that confused me was I thought that Matchroom Boxing USA was its own LLC based in the U.S., which means it wouldn't have to release any of that information. It could if it wanted to, but why would it want to, right? I don't know the laws in the UK. I know in the US, you don't have to release it unless you're publicly traded.
Yes.
If you're a publicly owned company, you don't need to release your financials to anyone, right?
Yes.
Publicly traded companies. So that's why I thought it was weird that they would release those things voluntarily unless they somehow got leaked. But I guess the UK, I don't know, maybe someone in the UK chat can help me. Are privately held companies required to release their financial information?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't either. Because we're Mixed Combat LLC. I don't have to disclose anything to you guys, even Gary. But I a couple things of this to sort of bring it back to the center of the discussion. So what are your thoughts based on this? Because I'll be honest, sort of my opinion about this, I'm not too surprised by this. Also, I don't think it's a negative. I think it's just an influx of cash and investment. Plus, it means that DAZN is hopefully more invested into boxing long term because they have ownership of two major promotional companies in boxing. So I think this is actually
one major and one little picky thing on the side.
Well,
but
one has Canelo. So I mean that instantly raises that promotional company to a major status.
Yeah.
But I mean, we can say this for at least the next 5 years or so. They seem locked in for boxing and in a significant way. That's a positive. You know, my window of doom and gloom for the recession is pushing a little bit farther back. But I do want to see Thomas Hauser's part 2 because he's going to talk more about the investment side of it and how that is more of a concern than their boxing content being worth the price. But Gary, back to you. Thoughts on overall, like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is that even not the discussion we should be having? Thoughts?
It's a good thing. Like you said, they've shown that they're interested in boxing big picture wise for years to come. So that's good for people like us. Is it good for their bottom line? I have no idea. Right? Like
quickly, Matthew D'Souza, and you can look it up on Companies House. It's public information in the UK. I'm going to do some research after the show now. A little bit Googling. Back to you, Gary.
Yeah, it's good news for us. Like, is it good for DAZN's bottom line? I guess they have an idea or numbers that tell them that it is, but I mean, that's something we're going to have to wait and see. Like, it seems to me that college football, go get the Pac-12 games, would be a better investment of your money. Like we're talking, boxing is a really niche sport, but they seem to have a commitment to it. You know, I don't know how they grow it without acquiring one of the other major sports, but for now we're going to keep getting boxing, you know,
especially when we see like Matchroom's profit margin is like £4 million a year, and you're looking at expenditures for DAZN, which is now a part owner of Matchroom, rising significantly. Payouts, expenditures for Matchroom have risen exponentially. Think about how many different regions they've expanded to in the last 18 months. That's an expense. Like you said, is it sustainable long term? Whatever you define long term is, I highly question. But at least in the short term, there is a deep investment into the sport. And we talked about this before. It's because it was an easy buy-in. Boxing is so fragmented and so loose in terms of organization that any network can come in and upset the apple carts and really upset the balance of the industry because it is so fragmented in that way. And because, I mean, let's be honest here, all these promoters, I think, are, to a degree, always looking for a cash infusion. And DAZN was the biggest cash infusion in town. So I'm not surprised these promoters are locking up with some sort of ownership deal with DAZN. Gary?
I agree with everything you said. Matchroom is in good shape. Matchroom USA is in good shape for now. DAZN has plenty of cash on hand, so it's not going to be a problem in the short term. Mm-hmm. It seems to me like, okay, DAZN is so far happy with the results it's gotten in the U.S. So I guess that's a good sign. I don't know what their expectations were. To me, the numbers seem good. I just feel like, and you guys in the chat, let me know, do you think most of your fight fans, most of your boxing fans, friends already have DAZN? And if so, like, how do they grow from here without acquiring one of the other sports? Like, how do I get more people eyes on boxing if I don't acquire basketball or football or baseball? I know they have a baseball package, but no baseball fans are buying it just for the package. How do they grow? If they already have a large portion of the hardcore fight fans, where's the growth coming from? Like, I feel like, you may add some viewers here, you may get some there, but like the nuts and bolts is I don't see how you grow, right? Mm-hmm. Boxing is a niche sport. How do you grow that audience? I mean, like, if you've been growing at whatever rate over the last, what's it been, 14 months now, 15 months?
Yeah, give or take.
Okay, if you like the growth, how do you sustain that growth when you already have a chokehold on that niche market, right? Because I feel like most of my friends who watch boxing have DAZN now.
I'll be honest, for a lot of my friends that kind of watch boxing, they just ask for my password and information. Like, there's at least 5 other people I know that have my password and use my DAZN account. And quickly, I mean, people always bring up like other countries, and when me and Gary are often talking about DAZN, we are isolating it only to the U.S. market. I feel like we always need to drill that in our listeners' heads, that, like, yes, we understand that DAZN is highly successful in Germany, Japan, especially Japan, but that is not what we're talking about here. We're not in Japan. We're not Japanese reporters. We don't cover the Japanese market. So therefore, that's not our pure view of discussion. It's just not. It's not within that. Okay? What is DAZN USA. And eventually when they go to the UK, because we cover so many UK topics, that'll be part of the discussion as well. But it's mainly a US conversation, not even a Canadian conversation. Like, we rarely talk about DAZN Canada because it's successful there. It has a lot of properties in Canada, as the NFL, I want to say, in Canada as well. So that's not at all the issue. And that is not, when we talk about DAZN crumbling, it's only within the U.S. market. It's not that we're saying DAZN is going to crumble in every market because they failed in the U.S. That's not what we're saying. That would be a very ignorant thing to say. We're saying that, can they be successful and make it in this market? That's a very different thing. Because they can thrive and be a market leader in Japan and Germany and Italy and Spain and Mexico and Canada, but not be one in the U.S. And that's fine. But that might be a reality, because it is one right now, that they're not a market leader. They're just not. Gary?
Agreed. I mainly agree with everything he says.
Dwayne in the chat with the super chat. Thank you, Dwayne. Saying Hearn said on Chris Manning's podcast that DAZN should charge $50 a month. Thoughts, guys? I cut my subscription if it ever cost that much. First off, obviously, I mean, if you still want the content legally and you don't want to deal with illegal streams, the year subscription will still be there. But out of a pure principle status, I kind of agree with you, Dwayne. Like, fucking $50 a month.
I know.
I mean, I get the concept that you're making the month be the pay-per-view for like a Canelo fight, right? I get the concept, but they're still thinking of DAZN as a network, as a TV network. And it isn't. It's an OTT service. You have to compare it to the Netflixes of the world, the Disney Plus of the world, the Hulus of the world. You have to compare it to the Amazon Primes of the world. You have to compare it to those things, not a TV network. So with the TV network, you have so much content, even like Sky. I know Sky's a lot per month as well. I think that's around like 50, 60 pounds per month. But you get so much content within the Sky sort of package, the TV package, that it might be acceptable for that cost. Some might not argue that. That's fine. But for DAZN, they're not that. They're a very small, limited OTT service that is compared to other OTT services. Therefore, the market standard for those prices per month is a certain average. And DAZN is already above that average at $20 per month. So to go even farther to double that or triple that would be so harmful to the casual subscribing audience that you would do more harm than good. The thought of getting more people long-term in the year, I think, will backfire 100%. And I think there's a reason you only have Eddie Hearn out there saying it and not DAZN. Because DAZN knows they can't go out there and publicly say, oh yeah, we're going to go from $20 to $50 a month. There's no way they would say that. They would lose so much business and get so much bad PR that would hurt them long term. Just the PR would hurt them long term. So Gary, thoughts on Eddie Hearn's recent comments? And I feel like he's made those comments for a while now too. This isn't new.
I've heard good ideas. I've heard bad ideas. I know the difference. This is a truly awful idea. This is one of the worst ideas I've ever. $50 a month. I don't pay $50 a month for the NBA League Pass, which gives me every single game in the country every single night. And you want people to pay $50 a month in the U.S. for fights one night a week. Most of them aren't any good. I mean, look, I watch them, but like most people don't watch your cards, your next gen cards in the U.S. Sorry. Everyone will drop it. I may drop it at $50 a month, right? Like if they went to $50 a month, they'd at least double the annual subscription too, right? So that would go from 100 to 200. They're not going to keep that at 100. You know what I'm saying? And go to $50 a month for the monthly plan. This is like the dumbest thing. I know he's baiting and he's trying to get a response, but it's like it's so dumb that it doesn't even warrant a conversation, right? It's like if you went in a negotiation, Matt, and they offered you $100,000, and you said, "I want $30 million guaranteed every year." It's like, okay, the discussion's over, right? We're done. Okay, you can leave. You're not being serious. You're not being an adult. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like $50 a month is insane. Like it's the dumbest. If you gave me the NBA package with it, you gave me the NFL package with it. Okay, now we have something to talk about. If you gave me 5 NFL games a week, you gave me 10 NBA games and 10 MLB games a week, and then now we have something here. That's still way overpriced, but like you're in the ballpark now. $50 a month to watch Canelo fight twice a year, to watch AJ fight twice a year, and a bunch of fights the average fight fan doesn't watch. I mean, that's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I might have ranted on that, but you kind of took my rant. I'm good, Gary. Like maybe because I like exercised this morning, so like not as pent up. I'm good right now. I'm all calm. I don't think this happens though. I'll be honest. I don't think that happens at all. That we get to $50.
Not only does it not going to happen, the guy who came up with that idea can go grab a box and put everything in his office in the box and leave. He's not welcomed here anymore. He can go home. We can replace him. Like that is the worst idea I've ever heard. And you're fired if you even think about it. $50 a month for fights that no one watches. You won't have a single subscriber left. I mean, there's a point, and at $20 a month, you really reached your max, right? Like you should be thinking of going the other way. I just got Disney Plus. What is it, like $7.99 a month?
Yeah.
It's got everything on it. Like you can't even go through it. There's so much, and I like the zone. I like the app, but like if I said I'm going to give you a burger, it's a really good burger. How much is it? $300. Are you still going to take the burger? No, because it's not worth it, right? Like we have to be reasonable here. You can't look at what everyone else is giving me for $5, $7, $10 a month and say I'm going to charge $50 for less content.
It's like that. What's that steak called? Where it's like $60 a steak. Fuck that steak. Too much money. Steven saying none of you guys buy DAZN apparently, so no issue here. We all have DAZN.
We all have DAZN.
We all got it since day one. I mean, we're all hardcore fans, and I mean, I'm a reporter. Gary's a pundit. Like, this is what we do. So of course we watch and consume DAZN content.
I just went on a tangent on how I stream every single fight and watch every single fight. That's even on the streaming apps, of the undercards, right? Like every fight, and then they go, no one has DAZN. We all have DAZN.
Oh, maybe they thought you like streaming as like illegal streaming.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's what they thought.
We all have DAZN.
Yes.
Matt has it. I have it. Foo has it. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna say unfortunately. I like the app. It's just
Rob unfortunately doesn't have it though. You know,
because he can't.
Because he can't. He can't. He would though. He would. Trust me.
I think he does. I think he just gives him $20 a month. Here's my charitable donation.
He gets a VPN just to pay for DAZN. Oh, that'd be hilarious. Anyways, any other thoughts about the DAZN ownership of Matchroom? Like I don't think it's or the DAZN topic overall. I feel like it's been a topic lately in the news cycle.
I think we've touched on it. I think we agree on most things.
And plus, we've talked about it for a lot of shows. Like we've been on this beat for is DAZN successful right now for a while. We've been on it before anyone else. I don't know if that's true, but I'm going to say that. One other piece of news that we got from this, I'm trying to find it because this article is very long. I do implore everyone to read this article, even though it's topics that we've discussed before on the show. It's always good to get another viewpoint of it, especially a guy like Thomas Hauser, who is a Hall of Fame reporter. God, where is this piece of news? I'm trying to find it, guys. Can't find it, but it's on this article. What's happening with DAZN Part 1, like I said. But Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is allegedly promised another 7-figure purse from DAZN/Matchroom, which obviously we can now sort of talk more in tandem together because there's some ownership between the two. Gary, thoughts on your boy Chavez Jr. coming back, man? You excited?
I guess you're right. I said after after that nonsense you pulled him, Jacobs, like, you'll never see him headline a card again. Like, that's it. The public is done with him. That's ridiculous. I was like, oh no, you'll see him again relatively soon, like whenever he's ready to come back. And I guess Matt was right. Like, I just thought like the public would just brush him aside and be like, okay, you're not a serious person anymore. But I guess, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if you're a serious person, Gary, or if you have good thoughts. If you pull numbers, even if they're just like social media numbers, which mean nothing, then you matter. So Chavez is going to be in events as long as he pulls numbers and social media numbers, which he does. That's why we get a fucking Jake Paul fight bumping Tevin Farmer versus Joseph Diaz, a.k.a. the best fight on that entire fucking card, down from the co-main spot when it should be the main event. So yeah, man, Chavez Jr., one of the best finesse gods in the game, man. Like, if we were going to talk about people that finesse the industry, Chavez Jr. is high on that list. He might be number 1. Jesse Vargas number 2, though. Just be honest.
That's why he's paid so well. That's why he makes the big bucks.
I
want to know what he's making for that Mikey fight.
He's probably making close to $7 million as well.
It can't be. Like, they have to say, you don't worry about what we're paying Mikey. You're getting paid your standard quote and not a dime more because you don't have any options.
I guarantee you, he's getting paid at least $3 million. If I'm betting, speculation here, guys, but if I'm betting, yeah. Come on, let's be honest here.
We should, Jesse Vargas, if you want to come on and disclose your purse to us, we're taking bets. I'm saying it's whatever you get paid for your other fights because they can't. I don't know. I mean, didn't DAZN say they were going to stop paying these ridiculous purses?
Yeah.
$3 million, which you say is a bare bones minimum, probably more. That would be the definition. That would be the textbook.
He got paid what, 1.2, 1.3 million to fight Humberto Soto.
5 fights from the top. Yeah.
It wasn't that many, but and I like the idea that it was. Yes, it was that far from the top. He's getting paid at least $3 million to fight Mikey.
Probably right. It's just that is mind blowing. How much do you think Ugas is getting to main event a fight
against Mike Dallas?
Ugas is a top 10 welterweight by anyone's ranking.
6 figures for sure. 6 figures for sure.
Six figures for sure. 500,000.
I was going to say around 500,000. Yeah, if I had to guess.
So Jesse Vargas, who's not a top 10 welterweight, who's playing B side, is getting 6 times what Ugas is getting.
Yep.
I guess.
Yep. This is math, Gary. DAZN has the stats. They know. You're a fool for thinking that's preposterous that they can do that for year on year and be successful. Okay? You don't have the galaxy brain to understand DAZN, okay? You're just being a fanager.
Maybe. I guess so.
You know, boxing fans have made some of the worst fucking names of all times. Fanager, awful name. That is such a stupid fucking like shit talk to throw at someone. Oh, you're a fanager. Fucking lame. Moving on though.
I feel like this when I was still working on Wall Street, like during the housing crisis, right? And like in 2006, before everything crashed, and you saw people making $50,000 a year, $40,000 a year, buying $500,000 houses, and I'm like, I don't think this is sustainable long term. And everyone's like, no, it's interest only, and then they'll make more money, and then they'll pay. Like, you don't think the bottom of this is ever going to fall out? You don't think like those interest only loans and those terms are ever going to mature? Because they probably are. And then people making $40,000 a year are going to have to pay off a $500,000 house, and they can't do that. So that's going to have to fall. No, they'll just refinance. Refinance what? They can't qualify for a loan, right? Like this is because forget it.
You about to go on another rant about DAZN, weren't you?
Like at a certain point, like.
But to rephrase or reframe the discussion, this isn't a DAZN issue. Like Fox is overspending, not to the degree that DAZN is, but they are overspending. I think on a lot fights and fighters. Obviously ESPN is. I mean, Tyson Fury got a $100 million deal. They gave away more tickets than they sold tickets in his last fight. Think about it. I think the total attendance was 8,000 people, 5,000 people, whatever it was. Over half of that was comps. They didn't even break 7 figures at the gate, and it's on ESPN Plus. What subscribers are you gaining there? Like, what revenue are you actually making with that fight? Nothing. You're losing money. Now, the thought is long-term ESPN Plus is going to take over ESPN because streaming is going to be the way of the future. I get it. But, man, if boxing is not the first casualty of streaming wars and sports streaming, it would be damn close. I'll be honest.
So, Matt, 5 years from now, are me and you watching all Japanese streams like the New Year's Eve card? Is that how we're watching boxing 5 years from now?
On illegal streams again? Yeah.
Yeah. In foreign languages?
Maybe not 5, because I think DAZN's going to hold out to the fucking 11th hour.
This is their baby. There's no turning. Burn the ship.
Yeah, no. Yeah, absolutely, Gary. They're it's like fucking conquistadors burning their ship and going to the Aztecs. Nope, it's done. We're going there, guys.
You guys want to turn back? Oh, go fight.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck, guys. I think I'll be honest. I think the Trojan horse to get sports streaming started is boxing and combat sports. And it'd be the first thing cast off to a degree, to be honest. But that's a topic for another time. And check out my article on Mixed Combat Radio because I said a lot of this shit before Thomas Hauser did. Just saying. But Terence Crawford, air quote, called out a bunch of welterweights, Gary. This might be the closest thing we get to Terence Crawford having personality and calling out all of his contemporaries in a meaningful way. And guess what? It's not even Terence Crawford doing it. It's like his buddy that he's filming yelling these things. So we're going to listen to it because it's hilarious. Because it is. And then sort of talk about, is this really all we're going to get for Terence Crawford in terms of pushing for those fights? Because it is. But let's watch this hilarious video of Terence Crawford filming his buddy call out every welterweight for him.
My bro got something to say, man.
We going down? We going to address this right now?
Talk to him.
I'm going to start with Mikey Garcia. Where you at, baby boy? Come on, bro. You ducked Lomachenko. That's your last duck. You dug Gamboa. That was your first dub. Where you at? Where your legacy at, boy? Where your legacy at? Where your legacy at? You went up there with Spence. You know you wasn't going to win. We going to cancel you out. You know you don't never want to mention with Bud. We going to go with Danny. Okay, Danny. You know we know you from the ring side. You know we got big love for you. Now, you a decent fighter. We ain't going to say that. I ain't going to say you ain't a decent fighter. But everybody in the world, y'all know he got whooped on by Mauricio Herrera. Bad! Whooped by Mauricio Herrera. Everybody shoot that under the rug. They shoot that under the rug. What else he do? Danny Garcia.
He ran from Postal.
He ran from Postal.
He ran from Postal.
He ran from Postal. Keith Thurman, big love to you too, but come on, man. I'm done. You don't want no smoke with nobody. You let that boy run you up out of there, and you don't fight Errol Spence like he's some killer and he's some this and some that. Man, get out of here, man. He basic. He decent, but he basic. Sean Porter, we love Sean Porter. You know we love Sean Porter too. Give big respect to him. But when he had that championship, where was he at? Where was him and his dad at? No, we ain't disrespecting them. Where was y'all at? Was y'all calling for Sean Porter and Bud to fight? No way. Spence, come on, bro. Come on. You know we come in. Come on, my G. Man, come on. Daddy Spence, where them kids at? Lil T, where y'all at? Come on. Now let a man tell you. He chasing you. What you think your daddy gonna do? He gonna throw you out there, I guarantee it. Come on now. We not starving for no money around here. We chasing needs. We chasing glory, baby. We chasing shit this is shit you don't gotta pay for, baby. This is the shit you work for. You niggas don't care about this shit. Y'all don't care about that glory. Y'all don't care about nothing. Y'all sad and pathetic talking about some punk ass money. All we want is the fights.
Let's not forget about Pacquiao.
Pacquiao. Well, you know he wanted that
Since
smoke.
2015.
Yes. But I'm gonna leave Pacquiao alone because he a legend and this and that. So I ain't gonna knock him for taking it for not fighting. But I ain't gonna knock Pacquiao. He improved so much. I ain't gonna say nothing about him.
So, Gary, I have so many thoughts about this. First off, his own hype man was still too fucking polite in calling out everyone. How? You have your buddy ranting and raving and so, hey, I love all these guys though. Pacquiao, you're a legend. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the beef. We're good. And on top of it, obviously, you have the idea that it's Terence Crawford not saying any of this. If this was Terence Crawford on IG Live calling out all these people, it would draw a different reaction than some guy we don't know that's his buddy doing it. Sorry, one last quick thing. I don't understand how Crawford is still so much inside his own head when it comes to promotion and self-promotion. Like, I don't get how there's been no one to sit him down and be like, look, man, you're doing it wrong. Like, this is how you need to promote yourself, your brand, your team, everything. This is how you need to promote yourself as a business moving forward. None of that. It's non-existent.
It's not him, and he's just not going to step outside his comfort zone. Santiago just put something in the chat saying that, like, we just have to accept that this is, like, Crawford's not going to have the energy that the other fighters do, right? And, like, it's he's 32 years old, 31 years old now. Like, it's true. Like, I mean, Crawford's not going to sell himself. You know, he's a great fighter, but that's not his personality. He's not going to step out of his comfort zone, right? Like, you know, everyone who knows Floyd Mayweather outside of the ring, it just personally, he's a nice guy. He's a polite guy. That's not how he acts, but he knows what he's got to do to sell himself, right? Crawford's not going to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, the other thing that pisses me off is Sean Porter wants to fight him. Why is that fight not made? Go get Bob, go have him fly to a room with Al and iron out the details. Right? You can't call someone out. That guy says, I want to fight you. And then say, like, go make the Porter fight. It's a great fight. Everyone wants to see it. It's makeable. Porter said he'll fight you. Go make the fight. Like, just get it done. There's no reason for that fight not to happen. Right? And if Porter makes an outrageous demand, then you know it's on him. But, like, Porter's been able to make fights with everyone. Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Ugas, Spence, everybody. So why wouldn't he be able to make a fight with Crawford? He would be. So go make the fight. Kell Brook. He fights everyone. So he's a guy you can work with. So go get the fight done.
And he's not like the money guy, so to speak. You know that Sean Porter's not out there pinching and diming for like that extra, $100,000 for a deal.
Yeah, I'm a huge Spence fan and a huge Crawford fan. If someone has to beat those guys, I hope it's Spence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like Spence. I like Porter. I do.
Oh, yes. I get what you're saying now. Yes.
Someone's got to beat Spence. I was hope it's Porter. Just don't let it be Keith.
Yeah. I mean, Porter's the ultimate like blue collar, like bring your lunch to work sort of guy, and plus he's such a nice guy. Like he's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in this sport.
It's hard to pull a lot of anger towards him. It's like Cotto. It's like I want to not like you. Can you give me something? No.
Cotto was so nice. You're right. Dwayne in the chat saying Crawford's boy promotes Crawford better than Aram.
That is also true. And he didn't do that great. I mean, it's funny, but like, I don't know. This is your hype guy. Be disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like,
all right, let me rant here. Okay, you have Manny fucking Pacquiao, right? The legend, right? That he's saying, and you have Terence Crawford saying, "Yeah, he didn't fight me since 2015. We've been wanting that fight." Manny Pacquiao left Bob Arum, his long-time promoter, to, in essence, get away from you, Crawford. Your own hype man came and say some disrespectful shit to him. If I had been following someone and saying that's the person I want to work with, or that's the person I need to work with, or that's the person I need to fight, whatever it may be, in whatever paradigm you want to give, and they have been avoiding me for 5 fucking years, they left companies to avoid me, holy shit, I'm going to hold a grudge. And I'm going to say some shit about them. Any chance I can get. Terence Crawford and his team, no, man, we're going to give Pacquiao all the respect in the world. No, you cannot do that. And it's not like Crawford, Crawford can say some shit, you know? Like, we've seen Crawford at times. I mean, everyone mentions, obviously, the interaction with Earl Spence behind the scenes at one of the fights. That was...
Hooker Salcedo.
There's a Hooker Salcedo. That one was the perfect self-promoting Crawford we've ever seen. He's never replicated that moment. Ever. I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is. It's sad. Because the guy is smart. The guy is an extremely talented fighter. I think the guy is self-aware enough to know that things aren't working the right way. And I think he's self-aware enough to know what the issue is and how he can correct it. He just doesn't. Like Santiago said, and you repeated earlier, that's just the way he is, man. Like, I think he is such a laid-back guy at times. Like, he just doesn't... It rolls off his back. Like, he gets kind of pissed off about it, but it rolls off his back and he moves on. You know, he's a country guy. I get it. But, I know.
Deion Sanders knew that he wanted to play football instead of baseball because he was professional in both sports. They say when he was in college, he knew that cornerbacks didn't get paid like receivers or pass rushers or quarterbacks, right? Because they didn't really get the spectacular stats. So he knew that he had to sell himself. He had to make himself a star in order to get those big paychecks. And he said he used to rehearse lines with his roommate when he was at Florida State. Like, this is what I'm going to say. Like, ask me, and he would actually rehearse his answers before the interviews to have something witty to say, right? And that's Deion Sanders in college. Crawford needs to do that. Like, you know, rehearse what you want to say. Like, make yourself come up with something clever. Test it out on somebody. Make sure it sounds clever to them too, and then go sell yourself with it. Like, that's the only way you're going to do that in this sport.
Yeah, especially in this game where, like, promotion from a promoter or network is erratic and non-consistent. You got to be a self-promoter. You have to know how to self-promote. And I think he does know how. He just doesn't. I think it is a conscious decision not to promote himself, to be honest.
Then don't get upset. Don't get upset then. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's fine.
Don't get upset at the media. Don't get upset at fans. Don't get upset at your promoter. If you're not out there pushing yourself, it's very hard to push you. It just is. I feel like that goes with any walk in life. Moving on, let's see if any other points about Crawford and his call-outs.
Is Crawford ducking Porter?
Yeah, man, you want to pot it up in 2020, man. Holy shit. With the hot takes and just putting ourselves in the fire there. I don't know. It seems odd. I'll put it this way. The decision-making from Top Rank and Terence Crawford and the moves they make and don't make being more probably the operative term. Ducking is such a harsh term. Maybe. I'll put it this way. If Sean Porter is out there saying, yeah, I'll take the fight, and you're out there not immediately going, okay, Bob, call Al out. And make that public too. Go on Twitter and say that. Go at Bob Arum, go at PBC and say, call each other up. The fact that that did not happen within like 24 hours from that Inside PBC show was upsetting. Was deeply upsetting. Is it a sign of ducking? I don't know. Because Terence Crawford's one of those people that's so hard to read in a way, like emotionally and mentally. Like he's the same temperature all the time.
World's greatest poker player.
God, I bet he's awful to play like Uno with, or like Monopoly with, or poker, any sort of game. He must be the worst fucking person to play with. Like he's definitely that Kobe Bryant-esque, where like he just has the same face all the time. And it's always, oh, fuck you face. Like, it's permanently on that. Like, I don't know. Do you think he's ducking? Like, you're the one that asked the question. Do you think he's ducking?
I've always been a Crawford fan. Like, I've always been a Crawford apologist that they've been talking to him. Porter wants to fight him. Why are we not ironing out details or have a signed fight at this point? You know what I'm saying? Like, Vegas or New York or, whatever needs to be ironed out. Why aren't we having that conversation? Or why isn't it signed? Porter wants to fight you. You don't have any other good fights. To me, it seems like he's looking at like, okay, Porter is not as big a fight as Pacquiao or Spence.
Or Danny.
I
think he's thinking that too.
But Danny's an easier fight for him.
True. But he's a guy that also beat him in the amateurs, so maybe he's not thinking that. Maybe he's not.
But Porter's a tough fight, and it's not as lucrative as the other two. I'm going to chill on this. I mean, is that a duck? Kind of a duck, right?
Definitely avoiding it seems.
Yeah.
At the very least.
That's how I felt Spence was with the Crawford fight. Like, I got other options. I don't really need to feel that right now. Like, that's how I kind of feel about Crawford with this Porter fight. Like, Porter wants the fight. If you send him a legitimate contract, it'll get done. So why are we not close here? Like I know there's always a negotiation process. You don't ever accept the first offer sent to you. I get all that, right? But we'd agree in terms that like I'm going to make this.
No. Look, I don't even care about a completed deal.
Right.
There's no attempt to make deals. That's an issue. And I remember, I forget who I was asking. Quickly, shout out to some people in the chat. Dollar DiBiase saying, why are you making them fake Dollar DiBiase beats? When you come to the source, my man. Shout out Dollar DiBiase saying, keep up the good work, bro. Got some Dollar DiBiase beats for the show. Send them over to me, man. Emails down below, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. Send me any intro, Dollar. Don't worry about it. We'll get them made. What else do we have here? Dwayne saying that top-ranking ESPN don't put any effort into promoting Crawford. Crawford doesn't have a going-out personality. His career is literally dying on the vein. That's what Dwayne is saying in the chat. Gary, would you go that harsh in terms of saying like Crawford's career is dying right now? Definitely stalling to a degree, but I don't know if dying.
Better way. Yeah, dying is aggressive. Stalling in neutral, yeah.
Stagnation. It's stagnating to a degree. Yes, absolutely. The good part is with Crawford is that he is in a division with so many options, air quotes, and all those options are big fights. Like all the top 6 guys are all massive fights for him. If he makes one of them and wins it, that stagnation is instantly gone. Right? Like this is a issue that is quite fixable relatively quick if they make a big fight for him in the next 6 months. If they don't, you still get the stagnation. But even then, like let's say he has another 2019-like year in 2020. Right, where he fights Vesputin or Jeff Horn 2. I mean, throw out fights, right, that just like aren't appealing in any way. And he gets the big fight next year. And he wins it. Then the career is fine. It rejuvenates instantaneously. The problem is, though, is that he's missing a lot of opportunities in his prime, let's say, and honestly, the tail end of his prime at 32 years old. He should be fighting the next 5 fights of his should be the 5 biggest fights of his career with no tune-up.
I agree.
And like that, win some, lose them, doesn't matter. He just needs to fight all these guys. Maybe he needs to take B-side money, whatever it needs to do. He needs to fight these guys. And then afterwards, he's in a position at 34, 35, that late stage career a la Mayweather, where he can really capitalize on whether or not he won those fights or not. That's what he should do. I don't think there's any foresight to do that, either from Top Rank side, ESPN side, or Terence Crawford side, to be honest. ESO in the chat saying Top Rank don't want to pay for a Porter fight. Simple as that. They should. There's no reason why they shouldn't want to.
Yeah, I'm with Matt. Like, I mean, you look what you're paying Tyson Fury. Like, you can pay for this fight. Like, I mean, it's a good fight. It'll make you money. It's a big fight.
And plus, I mean, let's be honest here. PBC is probably the least culpable when it comes to overpaying fighters, which is crazy to say, especially in the 2015, 2016 article after article talking point about PBC overpaying fighters. They're the least at fault now in the industry. I would assume you can give Sean Porter $2 or $3 million, maybe $4 million, and then back end money, and he's happy. You know, that's not a lot, I would say. You know, like and if you're ESPN, the potential for Crawford post that fight with the win is money in the bank. So you have to try it. Like, it has to be a loss leader. And even then, like, Sean Porter is one of those guys where, because of who he is, like we've said earlier, he's not going to cost you the same as a Danny Garcia is going to cost you. Or as Earl Spence or Manny Pacquiao or Keith Thurman. Those guys are going to cost you a lot to make those fights. They're going to ask for a lot more than Sean Porter. Right, Gary?
Yeah, which the other ones are more lucrative, which is why I think Crawford's looking at it like the juice isn't really worth the squeeze. Porter's a bigger risk, I think, to him than Pacquiao is. I think Pacquiao's an easier fight.
Yes, agree.
So it's like, well, why would I take that fight? I want Spence or Pacquiao because those are legacy fights and they'll pay me better. Porter's going to be like I said about Spence. No one in the history of the welterweight division is going to have an easy time with Sean Porter. It's just not. It's never going to. You can beat him, but it's never going to be an easy fight, right? Like you go 12 rounds with Sean Porter, you know you're in a fight. Like, that's just the way it's going to be. I don't care if it's Pernell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather. He's not going to beat those guys, but those guys are going to be in a fight. Damn it, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the way Sean Porter is. He's got that dog about him. So Crawford's like, nah. Let's see if we get Pacquiao. Let's see what happens.
Matthew D'Souza is saying, is there danger Crawford loses to a much lower ranked opponent by becoming demotivated at fighting these non-elite opponents, a la, he didn't say this, but I'm saying it, a la Kavlauskas? Yes. Absolutely.
It depends who he's...
Absolutely.
Look, the Kavlauskas fight was a little bit eye-opening, right? Like, he got arguably dropped, but not that he got dropped. He got buzzed a few times, right?
He struggled. He struggled against a guy that's a borderline 15-20 ranked guy. Okay? A guy that isn't unproven. No, we've seen him fight people. Like the Juan Carlos Abreu's of the world and the Ray Robinsons of the world. We've seen him fight people. He hasn't been super spectacular in those fights. We knew who Kavlauskas was going into that fight. And Crawford should have washed him. And he didn't.
Danny Garcia struggled with Sean Porter struggled with Adrian Granados. Danny Garcia struggled with Mauricio Herrera, probably lost.
All better fighters than Kavlauskas.
I don't know about that. Those are comparable. Mauricio Herrera
at the time, he was giving a lot of guys work.
And then Granados is
yes.
I mean, if they're better, they're marginally better. I never even thought Granados was a welterweight. I was like, that's a 140 guy who's fighting in the wrong weight class. But like, that's where the money is, so that's where he fights. You know, like.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing with those comparisons. First off, they're not Terence Crawford. They don't have the hype that Terence Crawford does. They don't have the pound for pound status that Terence Crawford does. That's the difference. So Danny Garcia struggling with Mauricio Herrera when he did, understandable. He wasn't pound for pound at the time and never really was.
And he was on like lists. I think probably that was
but he maybe at that time because that was obviously post Lucas Matisse, right? but he was never number one pound for pound on people's list. Crawford is
like an 8 or 9 or 10 guy.
People argue that Crawford is the reincarnation of Pernell fucking Whitaker, man. Like, he is compared, and the hype behind him is a certain way. It's the same argument I have with Tyson Fury, right? Like, the comparison and hype, the standard that they and the promoters, the networks, their fans have set for them, they are failing to meet that standard. I'm not the one setting that standard. They are, or their fans are, or the media is, or the networks are, the promoters are, whoever it may be, whatever entity you want to point at. It's not me. Somebody else is setting the standard for what their hype is meant for, and they're not meeting it. Okay? And as the number one pound-for-pound fighter, when you're fighting a guy that's a borderline top 15 guy, you need to treat him a little bit more disrespectfully in terms of dominating him. Okay? Look at how Lomachenko dealt with Krolla. Okay? Look at that. Look at like Usyk versus the borderline guys he was on his way up to. Washed him.
Rocky Fielding.
Canelo Rocky Fielding, another borderline top 15 guy. Yes, perfect example.
Tanaka just did to the guy that he just fought. You know, like I agree with you. So I think Crawford's next fight is going to be more telling.
Yes, it will be.
So
because then we have more of a case study and a sample size. Because like I said, the Jose Benavidez fight I think is telling as well. Okay, I think obviously the Amir Khan fight was easy because it's Amir Khan and he is so shot.
Agree on the Benavidez fight. Like I mean, it took him 12 rounds to knock him out, but he knocked him out. And Benavidez is a good fighter, and like.
But Benavidez is another guy that's not a top 10 player.
No, because he doesn't have the resume. But you feel like he could be a top 10 player.
I don't know. Like, no, look, I don't care about maybe. Like, where are you right now? Right now, he's not a top 10 player. He's not even a top 15 guy.
He doesn't fight anybody. Yeah.
You know, and even before that, Gary. Like, even in like context with the fight, like that fight became something because of the tension between those two, like the animosity they all of a sudden had. But that fight wasn't deemed competitive heading into it. It was supposed to be
when they signed the fight, I like really like you saw it coming from a mile away. It's like, are they gonna Benavidez look good? I forget who he beat. Did he beat Herrera? Like he beat someone, like a name like that who you're supposed to beat. It's like, okay, I know what comes next. Like this was to make me think he's the best thing I'd ever seen in my life, so that we can stick him in the ring with Crawford. And then they did. No, I wasn't overly excited about that. I wasn't excited about it at all. But I knew it was coming.
And again, you know, speaking of the pound for pound greats right now, Inoue, Juan Carlos Peano, top 15 guy, legitimate.
That's really good. Yeah,
top 10 guy, iced him. Rodriguez, top 10 guy, iced him. You know, we're looking at, and also in his 4th, 5th weight class. So we're in a position where we see these other pound for pound guys really demolishing subpar competition. And that's always a good barometer to like how great you are on that level, is to show us that these top 20-ish guys aren't at the level of the top 5. We need to see that. And Crawford's not been doing that. These guys that are borderline top 15, top 10 guys, top 20 guys even, are being surprisingly competitive with the arguable pound-for-pound number 1 fighter in the world. That's an issue. And again, like you said, obviously with another fight in the first half of 2020, we should get a better barometer, because I'm thinking it is not going to be a great opponent. It's going to be like an Alexander Vesputin, and that would be one of those fights where we say, on paper, Crawford should really dominate this fight. Will he now? And that would become a narrative. Absolutely. Quickly. Sorry. One last thing to table this or bookend my point. Similar, how the topic of Usyk now with Cesar and other guys is far more competitive in terms of the public narrative because of how he looked against Chaz Witherspoon. Okay, he was supposed to demolish him. He didn't. He ate some punches. He got touched up, as I would say.
Did he get put on him by with a spoon?
He got hands put on him. Okay, paws were laid on him. And because of that, we are now me and others out there are now looking at a Usyk run through the heavyweight division a little more skeptical than previously. That's bound to happen. And maybe there's a obviously with time we'll find out if it was true to be skeptical of either Usyk, Fury, Crawford. All these guys I'm a little bit skeptical of right now.
I wanted to say one thing. With the WBO, Virgil Ortiz is already ranked number 3.
Ooh.
I'd say give him 1 or 2 more fights in the first half of 2020. Make him look good, and they're going to try to push him. If Crawford's got nothing else going, if none of the PBC guys can work anything out, I think they're going to try to push that, a year from now or 11 months from now, end of 2020. They're going to try to make that fight. They're going to try to get Virgil Ortiz 2 more spectacular knockouts against, and don't give me Solomon again. Give me someone better than that. Like, you're going to have to, because you can't go from Solomon to Terence Crawford.
Well, I mean, you can.
Yeah, don't do that.
And you can make an argument. He had more step fights than Erickson Lubin did when he fought Charlo.
But I like Charlo. Charlo's not Terence Crawford either.
True.
No, you're right. I mean, I thought that Lubin fight was way too soon for him, and it was. But give Virgil Ortiz 2 more separate fights. Have him fight a top 10 guy in the middle of the year.
Also, names that might spring up: Jared Enos. Sort of like those hardcore names and prospects. You might see Top Rank try to get them. Also, Regis Prograis. I mean, he's been mentioning Crawford a lot lately. I would not be surprised. I think he's waiting for the Mikey Jesse Vargas fight to see sort of what his options are to a degree. Yeah. But I would not be surprised to see Top Rank pick up Prograis and give him like a 1-fight tune-up, and then they fight summertime or fall of 2020. No matter what, Crawford's next fight is gonna be another tune-up, though.
They're gonna move Ramirez up to fight him if nothing else is cooking.
Yeah, if they can get that Josh Taylor Ramirez fight, and that's gonna be a struggle because both of them have mandatories and everything coming up. But then again, both those guys are kind of natural 140 pounders. So like I can see them fighting their respective mandatories and fighting their 3rd fight of the year last month or 2 of 2020. And Taylor Ramirez unification. I could see that. But digressing, let's get to more topics. Wilder Fury 2 press conference is actually happening, guys, according to PBC, writes Michael Woods. Despite Bob Arum saying there won't be one, PBC says there will be one. So, Gary, are you happy like me that there's actually going to be a press conference, a pre-fight press conference, in advance, not just a fight week press conference for Wilder Fury 2?
Yeah, I'm like, let's treat this thing like it's a mega fight. Like, let's treat this thing like it matters. I thought that they would do it. I don't know why this is like news. Like, this should be a formality. Yes, we're gonna have a press conference to hype this thing up.
That's so weird. This is gonna be. I would not be surprised to see this fight underperform expectations. Just being honest, I would not be surprised. We're expecting like, the ESPN, Fox, co-network promotion. It's going to be bigger than it is naturally because the 2 networks involved. And we're going to find out like, no, actually they kind of dropped the ball in this event in a lot of different ways, and a combined factor of kind of a pedestrian pay-per-view again.
Give me a number.
I think if this breaks 400,000, I'll be surprised.
So you want to go with 400,000?
As the over and under?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the way over on that. I'm going to take 700.
I don't know, man. Look, historically speaking, that just doesn't happen. A rematch. Like pay-per-views, like that doesn't happen. From one fight to the next in terms of a pay-per-view buys and a rematch or trilogy, the numbers really don't go up. They went marginally up in the Pacquiao-Marquez saga.
Holyfield-Tyson went up in the second fight.
Yes, but not significantly.
I mean, the first one did well over 1 million, and the second one was held the record until it was broken by Tyson Lewis. I think it went from like 1.2 to 1.5. Is that significant? I mean, it's 10%.
Yeah, but you're also talking about like Mike Tyson.
No, I get it.
You know what I mean? And Mike Tyson is probably still the biggest boxing star alive today, right?
1.5 million was crazy because that was the era, the late 90s, where everyone had those little black cable boxes. You paid $200 for to give you every pay-per-view channel. everyone had those. I don't know how. I don't know. 2 million people didn't have one of those, but I guess they didn't.
But digressing. Wilder Fury 2. I mean, in terms of the promotion, I just hope they do better because it's a big fight. It should feel big, and I feel like it doesn't right now. It feels odd. It feels disjointed right now in terms of promotion. But I think overall boxing is struggling to promote in this new paradigm. Moving on, unless you have anything else to say. Nope, okay. Perfect. Teofimo Lopez angles for Lomachenko clash to land at MSG, writes Jake Donovan of Boxing Scene. Obviously reported earlier this week that Saudi Arabia was interested, that MSG was obviously an option, and those are two different dates. I mean, Gary, I'm not surprised Lopez wants the MSG event or the card at MSG, but thoughts on whether or not Loma will play any sort of A-side, I was going to say prima donna moves, but like that would be kind of harsh. But just A-side moves and say, no, I want the fight in Vegas or something like that.
I mean, he could. Loma's fought in the Garden quite a bit. I think it's going to come down to the money. Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to give you $1.5 million to fight in the Garden or $4 million to fight in Saudi Arabia. Where do you want to fight? We'll go to Saudi Arabia. Like, I think that's ultimately going to be the difference. I think this fight's going to be in Saudi Arabia, unfortunately. Unless somebody takes some type of moral stand, which I don't see happening, the fight's going to be in Saudi Arabia because it's just there's too much money to put it anywhere else. Especially like the Garden. Like, I mean, how is MSG going to pay a site fee like they would over in Saudi Arabia? It can't.
Yeah, but this could be a network demand. Like,
maybe you get that. Maybe.
You know, it's similar to like not, similar, but like the inverse of what happened with Andy Ruiz, Anthony Joshua, where obviously DAZN wanted it in MSG. They wanted it in New York for all the U.S. media. They didn't. The offset, though, is that they only had to pay a very small licensing fee because it was an overseas event. So they paid, I think it was $4 million. Also in that article. L. Highlander, which I assume is a Matchroom fan, saying our title was bullshit and fake news. Just rewind the show, man. Like, it's very easy to just rewind it, listen to us give our take on it, and obviously the news.
Anthony Joshua did say he'd fight Ruiz in Tijuana.
That's true.
And then back out of that.
But digressing back to the topic at hand, I would not be surprised to see ESPN go, no, Loma's been like our prized possession. Because he has been, let's be honest. Not Crawford. It's Tyson Fury, then Loma, then Crawford. For obvious reasons, guys. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And I expect ESPN to sort of put the foot down and say, no, this fight's in the Garden. This fight's in at least North America. Even if Loma loses, Teofimo Lopez is potentially our next star from the Tri-State area. We want this fight here. So I expect that, to be honest. Even though Saudi Arabia is going to offer a lot of money, the network can offset costs because of that. The promoter can offset costs because of that. I think you're going to get the network saying, no, we want the long-term play here, which is have this fight on ESPN, have this fight in either MSG or Vegas, and then either Lopez is our next star or Lomachenko continues to be one of our biggest stars in our boxing division.
I agree that that's the smart long-term move. I just haven't seen anyone in boxing make smart long-term moves. It's always been, well, recently at least, it's been the short-term play. So this would be reversing that trend. So we'll see.
Highlander, just because I'll do the service. Here it is. You can read the information yourself because you can't read. There you go. So I'm saying fake news. Just read the news, and then you're not an idiot. There you go. Leonard in the chat saying, would they even consider it now with the tension in the Middle East at the moment? Obviously, with the current whole, World War III happening, potentially. Yeah, I think they would. Like, business still moves on. Yeah. Especially in war, business continues moving. Plus, Saudi Arabia is not really in, it's not really the region that we're discussing at this moment with the Iran, Iraq, and U.S. issue. To be honest, it's just not. Gary, thoughts on that? Do you think the current whole Iran, U.S., Iraq issue could play a factor into Saudi Arabia fights, or even like Dubai or UAE fights moving forward for the next year or so?
No, I don't think it'll impact that. It might impact putting fights in Iran, but we're going to put fights in Iran anyway. And even that, I don't know. Like, if the money's right, well, they would still do it. So no, I don't think that's going to have any major hold on putting fights in anywhere in the Middle East.
For Ben Media saying, it's North America. No way Bob takes his biggest U.S. show in years to Saudi Arabia. I mean, Eddie Hearn and Matchroom did it, so why not?
Oh, who said that in the chat?
Some guy in the chat for Ben Media. I don't know who that is.
Why not? Like, I mean, if you want to respond in a serious manner, I like to know why you think that's an impossibility.
PSK saying Saudi and Iran do have issues at the moment. They've always had issues. They're different sects of Islam. They've had issues for centuries. That's not a at the moment issue at all. Anyways, moving on. Where were we at? Oh, here we were. Any other points or any other thoughts about Lopez Loma? Where could it end up?
No, did dude ever respond to why Aaron wouldn't put his fight in?
No, they're saying that's the biggest top rank show in years.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't mean much to me either.
It's not, right?
I wanted to bring up something. I forget who it was in the comment section, but somebody brought up that Loma Lopez could be pay-per-view. I was like, it's a great show, and everyone's doing pay-per-view. I want to be very serious about this. Two wrongs don't make a right. I feel like as adults, you should not need to be taught this. Grown-ass boxing fans should know two wrongs don't make a right. So the fact that PBC has been doing a lot of pay-per-views lately, which is not consumer-friendly, doesn't mean it should be replicated by other entities, a la Crawford Khan, which they tried this last year. So no, I don't think Loma Lopez should be pay-per-view, but I do see some fans out there saying that it could be. Any thoughts about if they do make? I know that there's nothing official, like Top Rank, ESPN. No one is saying that, but just thoughts on: do you think they will try a Loma pay-per-view in 2020, a la Loma Lopez?
I wouldn't rule it out. That's what Aaron wants. I don't think it's an impossibility. If I had to bet, I think it goes on regular, big ESPN. I don't think it's an ESPN pay-per-view, but I think that's what Aaron wants, and he'd be willing to push it off to the end of the year if he thinks he can make it a pay-per-view.
He would marinate it, as they say.
But you're right. No, saying that it's just because PBC makes bad pay-per-views, that's what's called a 2K fallacy, a U2 fallacy. Just because you did something, right? Like just because O.J. Simpson got away with murdering his wife doesn't mean anyone else can get. You know what I'm saying? Like just because someone else did it isn't justification.
Hey, he was found guilty in the civil trial. Okay. Digressing though. Speaking of bad pay-per-views, Leonard Ellerby, obviously the CEO of Mayweather Promotions. Yeah, CEO of Mayweather Promotions. Obviously has been talking about Gervonta Davis. Next fight will be on pay-per-view. Quote, he's shown the fans across the world what kind of drawing power that he has. He has terrific drawing power. He puts behinds in the seats. The fans tune in because they want to see excitement, and that's what he brings to the table. Gary, thoughts on?
No. Nope, not taking the bait. That's bait.
Quickly, for Ben Media, his response to you, by the way, was Eddie is an anchor to the U.S. like Bob. Bob needs his U.S. market to be successful. Eddie has the U.K. Actually, that's just wrong. That's categorically, blatantly wrong. First off, Bob Arum's because he has Tyson Fury now. his fourth biggest star, Jose Ramirez, is fighting a Russian in China in a week or two? And he is on record saying, no, we're going to go overseas for a lot of fights in 2020 because that's where the money is now. And site fees, like Saudi Arabia. So your reasoning is just wrong. Now, Gary, I know I kind of jumped into your argument and your debate with someone in the live chat, but any thoughts about poor Ben Media? His reasoning? No?
Nah, not really.
Okay. I said it all. Digressing back to Leonard Elby saying Gervonta Davis' next fight would be on pay-per-view, blah, blah. Gary, I know you're saying that's bait. Thoughts on who that opponent will be, what the buyer will be, and just thoughts overall.
Unless it's Breazeale Lomachenko, which is not because he's fighting Lopez, I don't want to talk about it being on pay-per-view. If it was, give me Leo Santa Cruz.
It's gonna be Leo Santa Cruz.
150,000. Is that too high?
Yeah, that's too high.
It is too high, right? Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was being generous with that, but that may be way too high. 120, 110. Is that too high?
I don't know, man. That's a weird one, huh? Because you have two demographics, two markets that historically buy pay-per-views. You have two guys that are in their own way draws, like they're especially TV draws, I will say. That fight,
TV draw, by the way.
Yes.
How do his pay-per-views do?
Not that well. So that's that. That's kind. No, I'll put it this way: we're in this weird stage where, like, I think in a traditional paradigm of HBO Showtime, go back 10, 15 years, a lot of the guys that we're talking about that are struggling on pay-per-view would be far more successful on pay-per-view. Maybe I'm wrong on that. It's just a speculation. It's an opinion I have. So I think you have a lot of these execs and promoters that are from an older age where they look at some of these guys on paper and metrics and they go, this should be pay-per-view. And it's not successful. A la any Terence Crawford pay-per-view. Right? A la Andre Ward pay-per-views. Like, there's certain fighters you look on paper and you say, they kind of should be, they can do numbers on pay-per-view. Maybe not big numbers, but they can be decent draws. They can be the next Miguel Cottos of the world. And they're not. They're not that B-level pay-per-view draw. That B-level pay-per-view draw is non-existent right now in boxing. You only have the Canelos of the world and everyone else at the bottom level.
You know what the difference between Miguel Cotto is and Tank Davis is? Miguel Cotto's a star. Everyone knows who Miguel Cotto is. Miguel Cotto sold more tickets at Madison Square Garden than Muhammad Ali did. Miguel Cotto's a star. Like, if you talk to your casual sports fan, he knows who Miguel Cotto is. He doesn't know who Tank Davis is. Like, Miguel Cotto is a star. That's the difference. And Miguel Cotto did what? Like, Miguel Cotto Margarito won. Miguel Cotto Mosley did what? Maybe 300,000-400,000? Like, okay, and Cotto's a star. Tank Davis is not a star. Tank Davis did one good event in Baltimore. In his homecoming event. He's not, I mean, he doesn't sell tickets. He's had his Hugo Ruiz fight did 300,000 live viewers. Like, he's not a star. He's a star to us in the boxing world, but he's not. Again, wherever you live, call up your local sports radio talk show and ask them who Tank Davis is. See what they say. See how quickly they hang up on you.
I understand that, Gary. I'm just saying, Bob Arum, people of that nature, people of that age that come from a different time, even Al Heyman to a degree, they're thinking this should be working more. Right? I think that's what they're honestly thinking. They're thinking that there's this level of stars right now in boxing that should be more of the Miguel Cotto level of stardom, more of the Marquez level of stardom, more the Margarito level of stardom. That level, Shane Mosley's of the world. Like, that level of pay-per-view draw and ticket draw is kind of, I'm not going to say non-existent, but it's a struggle to get there now. And it seems like a lot of these guys, they're hoping are that person, and they're not. I think there's a disconnect from these promotions and promoters and managers and TV execs and network execs. They think that this is 2008 and 2005 still. to be honest, to a degree.
Cotto had the names. Cotto had a war with Margarito. He had a Puerto Rican-Mexican war. He had the fight with Mosley, who was a star, right? He fought every year at the Puerto Rican Day Parade in Madison Square Garden, which made him a star. He had all these things. Marquez, Barrera, and Morales all had each other, and it was this perfect whirlwind of three legendary, and then this Filipino whirlwind of hurricane punches that knocked everybody out. It was a perfect storm. Like that, if they weren't all together at the same time, none of them would have been the star that they were collectively. Tank Davis doesn't have anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Unless he starts having a trilogy with Lomachenko and the greatest fights you ever saw, and then he fights Lopez and Haney, and they all come together and start beating each other. But you don't have anything like that. You have isolated islands who don't fight each other. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, look, if Haney and Teofimo Lopez and Tank Davis all started fighting each other and Loma was still hanging around, we could have a conversation in a year or two that this could be a pay-per-view fight. But unless they all fight each other and all beat each other and all have these legendary wars with each other, it's not interesting. Like the average sports fan who would make this thing go from 100 to 300 doesn't care.
I agree completely, Gary. I agree completely. I just think the promoters don't think that. There's a disconnect. There has to be a disconnect, Gary, right? Like that's the only explanation for this forced pay-per-view industry right now, right? Maybe
they have a source that says this is good. And that's all they listen to, right? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Speaking of sources, Gary, great little segue right there. You didn't even know it. You planned that. Sources: Mike Coppinger, Shakur Stevenson is being lined up for his first featherweight title defense, a fight against not Josh Warrington, Miguel Mariaga. The fight will likely land March 14th at MSG's Hulu Theater in New York. Stevenson, with expected victory, could head to a summer unification with Josh Warrington. Again, Gary, I'm gonna let you talk first because this is every time I look at this, it makes me really upset.
All right, I want to. If he fights 3 times this year, that's fine. No, okay. No, if he fights 3 times. He's not gonna though, right? Then this is a waste of a fight. Like Mariaga, I forgot that guy was around. Like, I mean, he's lost every fight he's been in. I mean, this fight, I get like he's a young champion, so you're gonna give him a victory lap. But like Matt has argued before, I think he's argued correctly. Like his title win against Joet Gonzalez was the victory lap. Okay, now go fight someone real, right? You were given your layup, and I don't mind guys taking a victory lap, but you better fight 3 times that year. You know, so you better come back and fight 4 months later. Which, if he does that, if he takes this fight and then comes back in June or July, and then fights Warrington, and then fights again at the end of the year, I'm okay with it. But you better fight 3 times. You better not fight twice this year, and that be one of them, because this fight is a non-starter.
Yeah. Miguel Mariaga is like that. God, he has been used as a tune-up fight since Nicholas fucking Walters. Oh my God. Like, before I ever even got into reporting in this industry, Mariaga was used as that tune-up fight. He has only lost to people we know. Like, has he beaten anyone of note, Gary? Like, I only know him in his losses. Loma, obviously. Was it Jason Sosa? Didn't he fight Jason Sosa? Am I imagining that? I could be imagining that. Gary, you're muted. You're muted. There you go, Gary.
No, he lost every fight. He lost to Valdez. He lost to there you go. He lost to Valdez. He lost to Lomachenko, and then he lost to Nicholas Walters. I don't think he beat anybody. Did he beat anyone? No. Anyone that we know?
No.
I don't think so.
I don't understand this. This is just bad matchmaking. This is the type of matchmaking that actually does your champion and your prospect or your next big star a disservice, to be honest. He's had a run recently of 3 or 4 fights where he's gained momentum. And all of a sudden, we get this Josh Warrington fight with a lot of hype behind it, some back and forth on social media, and they're going to push that back to marinate it. That does him a disservice. He is better off fighting Josh Warrington next, taking an L, than he is having this tune-up and defeating Josh Warrington later in the year, in my opinion. Gary, muted.
I guess I agree, kind of, but like there's so...
He's
like,
better off. Hold on. He's better off. We're better off. The sport's better off. Everyone's better off if the first scenario is better, where he loses and he fights him next instead of a tune-up or two and then fighting Josh Warrington.
Look, I agree with you, but like there's this love affair with having the 0 in your loss column, which I don't really get. Like, I mean, Marquez never had a 0 in his, neither did Hopkins, right? Like, did that change their greatness? I mean, I agree with you. Like, it's better for everyone, like Canelo, right? And Canelo didn't really even take it to a fight afterwards, but that's besides the point. But I don't think that's realistic. Like, I don't think he's going to do that. I think that they're going to put this fight off. But like Mariaga, is that really even a tune-up though? Does that get you ready? Does that get you closer to beating Warrington? Like, I don't understand that fight at all. It's like, it's not a guy who fights like Warrington. It's not a get ready. I mean, it's like, it's nothing. It's literally nothing. That is a nothing fight. That is a sparring session is what it is.
Yeah, it's a sparring session. It's one that makes no sense. It's one that just does nothing for Shakur Stevenson. And again, I think does him a disservice.
And that's what I was looking up. When the year that Lomachenko fought Mariaga was 2017, he fought 3 times that year. Because that fight doesn't count. That fight doesn't count. Fighting Mariaga doesn't count. So if you're going to fight twice a year, that one doesn't count. So you got to fight twice more.
Agreed. Let's talk about a guy that we both have a love affair for. Let's just be honest, Gary. We do. Julio Cesar Martinez Jr. is fighting Jay Harris in a surprisingly little decent hardcore fight. Air horns for this one, actually. Jay Harris is a decent fighter. I think he slipped in our top 15. I could be wrong about that. I think I ranked him in our top 15 for sure. Definitely a good undefeated prospect at flyweight. Gary, thoughts on Martinez, Jay Harris finalized February 29th, which is the Frisco card, a.k.a. the Mike Garcia, Jesse Vargas card.
No, it's a good fight. I mean, he's staying busy. He's getting back in there relatively quickly. Jay Harris is a respectable name. I'm pretty sure I had him in my top 15. I would think he beat Patty Barnes.
Yeah, that was a good win.
And then he won a fight right before that too, which is what someone will look it up from. He won 2 fights in a row. Patty Barnes was the second. He's not going to win, right? He'll get stopped, but it's a top 15 name. It's a good name. It's a quick turnaround, and there's nothing wrong with the fight. It's a good fight. It just, I think largely it's going to be one-sided.
Agreed. That's mainly due to Martinez though being a fucking wrecking crew.
Is Jay Harris undefeated?
I think he is.
So if he's undefeated, he's got 2 good wins.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? Yeah, let him. Martinez is a good fight. I just think he gets blown out in that fight, right?
No, I'm totally fine with this fight. Plus, he just fought Rosales. Like, this is a quick turnaround. This is only like a 2-month quick turnaround from a great, tough fight he just had in Rosales. That was one of those fights that made me think, oh, maybe you should take a few months off, man. He's been in some wars lately. No, right back in there with another undefeated great fighter, or prospect, I should say, in Jay Harris, and a great sort of card, great to add card depth to the Mike Garcia Jesse Vargas fight, because I'm not a big fan of that fight, but I am quickly becoming a fan of the proposed undercard for this fight, the Garcia Vargas fight. I think Martinez Harris fantastic. What else is being attached to that? Forget. There's another fight. I think it's maybe, God, I'm trying to remember. Forgetting now. But digressing from that. Gary, any other thoughts on Martinez versus Jay Harris finalized February 29th?
Oh, I like it. I dig it.
Awesome. Eddie Hearns saying, sort of responding to a Badu Jack post, saying back in business already after his fight with John Pascal, which was a war in of itself. And Eddie Hearns said, or I should say Badu Jack first said back to business with my brother Team Abdallah, and then Eddie Hearn responded, loved it, Badu. Let's do Dimitri Bivol fight for the world title. Gary,
Sid, sound effect.
Yeah.
He just lost. Like, again, it's not the worst thing in the world, but like, no, Bivol's got to fight someone who just won. Like, no, I'm not with that fight. Fight somebody good. And it's not that Badou Jack is bad. He's probably in the top 15.
Yeah, I would rephrase that. Fight someone that is coming off a win.
And who's not your father's age.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, how old? I keep doing it because I think Jack's the same age as me, so I don't want to keep doing this. But like, come on, Bivol. I'm a Bivol fan, but like, fight someone in the top 5. Fight somebody who just at least won, and not. What was the name of the fighter he fought on the Usyk card? Dominican fighter. I forget his name.
Bivol. God, who was the guy that kind of roughed him up a little bit?
Castillo, yeah.
Yeah, Lenny Castillo, yep.
Yeah. Rob thought he didn't put hands on Bivol either. I'm like, that guy put a lot of hands on Bivol. Not Bivol dominated the fight, but like, I think Bivol was even in a little bit of trouble once. Like, Castillo got it going a little bit in one of the rounds. Like, yeah, that was not Bivol's best performance, even though he probably won 10, 11 rounds of that fight. No, he's got to fight. He fought Joe Smith and Castillo in 2011. In 2019. He's got to fight someone better than that. He's got to do better. Go fight. Jeez, who would you like? The only name I'm thinking on Eddie Hearn's side is Caleb Johnson, but that's not a great fight either. Like, who does Eddie Hearn have?
Quickly. I need to get to this. Some stupid motherfuckers in the chat saying that our title is not a fully accurate title. It is a 100% accurate title. And actually, I could have got way more clickbaity than it is, air quotes, because literally they own 40% of the shares in Matchroom Boxing LLC, not Matchroom Boxing Limited or Matchroom Boxing US Limited. So I'm being ultra specific in the title. If you guys don't like that, that's fine. But it's not clickbait. It's definitionally not clickbait because I'm being 100% accurate in the title. I did that on purpose too. So there wasn't any confusion. Okay, that's not buying Matchroom USA, because it's not. Matchroom owns 100% of its shares of Matchroom Boxing US Limited. They own 60% of Matchroom Boxing LLC, which is the U.S. incorporation. There's a difference. There is a significant difference in that. So, of course, I'm being ultra accurate in the title. Not clickbait at all, guys. Now, if you guys want to be upset by that, that's fine. Maybe rewind the show where we hear that we are actually in favor of this. But I know you Matchroom fanboys are fucking in your feelings and get your guards up anytime someone mentions Matchroom or DAZN. You got to get the cape on instantly without hearing anything that me and Gary said about it. Right? Because let's be honest, these guys jump in late into the show, don't know what we're talking about, asking what the title means. We're telling them what it means, giving them the sources. They're saying, no, it's fake news, it's clickbait. When they didn't hear anything that we said about it, Gary. That is so frustrating. And I am so close to blocking you motherfuckers because it's not clickbait. Call in, please. Obenali and Lee Chant, call in and tell me why it's clickbait. Because it's not. I'm being 100% accurate in the title. And I don't know how that can be described as clickbait. Gary?
Yeah, there's nothing clickbait about it. It's an accurate headline. I mean, when I first saw it too, I thought like it was a leap of faith, but these are numbers that are that have been released in our public. Like two sources have reported it. So now you're saying that there's some kind of deep conspiracy theory that these two sources both made up the same numbers.
One of them being literally in the Boxing Hall of fucking Fame.
Right. I mean, right? As a journalist, you always say check your sources, get a second source to confirm that. In this case, Matt's done that, and both sources confirm the same exact thing. So, I mean, what is like? Call in, please call in, and Matt D'Souza call in too, because I want to talk about. He says Badu Jack deserves a shot. Well, how about you win a fight before you get a title fight?
And think about how lame they are now. Now they're going, oh, they're triggered, motherfucker. Call in, please. Keep that energy. Okay, you can be anonymous in the chat and have no avatar and all that shit. Please do that. But no, I give you no respect. You have no right to be on this platform and be in this live chat and to comment on this show. You have zero rights. So if I deem your behavior just fucking annoying, you're gone. That's the rules. Okay? And saying a 100% accurate title is clickbait is fucking annoying. Because I'll be honest, I've done clickbait headlines all the time. All the time. Of course they are. It's YouTube. Everything is sensationalized. That's the name of the game now. But this is the one time I am actually not putting a sensationalized headline at all. It's 100% accurate. Even the Crawford thing is accurate. I mean, this is one of the few headlines that's not sensationalized. And you Matchroom fans who didn't hear me and Gary even give our opinions about it are upset and in your feelings, and you guys are triggered in the chat. Man, later, fucking stupid ass motherfucker. Bye. Have fun. Go back to watching Sporting Icons, lame ass. Moving on. Tom Lawfer. We're getting this by way of, he was doing a live video with Dougie Fisher, and I didn't care to listen to it. But our homie, Leonard Sterling in the chat, did, and said Tom Lawfer saying that he reached out to Matchroom because Ioka is interested in fighting Estrada. Leonard said, I agree with Dougie, blah, blah, something about unifications. Nothing to do with what we're going to talk about. But Tom Lawfer saying that Matchroom has reached out for an Estrada-Ioka fight. Gary, thoughts on that?
I would take Ioka in that fight, and let's do that fight immediately. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Let's just make that. That is such a great fight. Who do you like in that fight?
Estrada. Estrada throws more. I think he's a better fundamental boxer. I would maybe argue he has more pop too. So
Ioka's on a run right now. Like I'm taking. I don't care the other name you give me. I'm taking Ioka.
Really?
Of course, Estrada could win. Obviously, Estrada.
So Rungs via Ioka. You're picking
Ioka. I'm taking Ioka until further notice.
Oh my god, is he from Texas?
No. I'm really impressed. I think Ioka is on a run. I think he figures out ways to beat you. And like, look, he could lose those fights. Of course, he could lose those fights. Those are great fighters. Those are arguably pound for pound names you just gave me. But I think Ioka's on that short list, and I think Ioka's got the experience. I think he's got the ring IQ. I think he can figure people out. And I think, look, Estrada's a great fighter. Could I be wrong in that? Absolutely. But Ioka's a great fighter too. It's like you picked Porter to beat Crawford. Could you be wrong on that? That's out of the.
Maybe I get your argument. I get your logic behind it. Absolutely. I just like Estrada's pound for pound, arguably. Like I don't know. I'll say this. I'm going to pick Estrada. I thought he looked fantastic against Rungsu. I thought he had a fantastic game plan. I thought he figured out his opponent. And I saw Ioka not struggle against Cintron, but I saw that like there was lapses in his game to a degree that like a certain fighter could definitely take advantage of. A more accurate, more efficient fighter could take advantage of. And Estrada's that. So I could see these other guys beating Ioka. I don't see Ioka being a Sean Porter like in the division, to be honest. I don't see him being that perennial like 2 or 3 guy really, but the name value would kind of drop him off over to like 4 and 5th. I don't see that. I see him as just being the 4th or 5th best guy in the division, and that's fine.
Exactly how you see Sean Porter in the welterweight division.
I know that.
exactly how I say Oka.
I know. Moving on, though, unless you have any other points to make.
No, I really want to see that fight. That is a great fight.
Where do you want to see it? Japan or U.S.?
I mean, I don't care, right? Like, if it's in the forum, you'll go to it, and that's good for us, right? If it's in Japan, I get to watch it in the morning, which I love. So either way, I'm a winner. Either Japan or LA. I'm good for with either one of them. It's just as long as I get that fight, I'm a happy Gary.
Yeah, that's so good. I agree with you. And quick little update for our podcast listeners from the chat, the bullshit in the chat. Lead Chant said some bullshit like, but I'd like to see the facts before clickbait. Show me the facts. And by the way, I've been sending him the links multiple times. And so I say, I did. And I send the links again. And I say, let's give Lee one more chance to not be a fucking idiot. And then he responds. So he run a story onto some gossip column. It's a fucking Hall of Fame journalist. God damn it. And Santi blocks him. Santi cracked me up, man. That was great. Did you guys name some candidates for Fight of the Decade yet? My bad if I missed it. No, we have not done that show yet. I'm thinking this week for sure because there's not a lot of fights this week. So I'm thinking second half of this week. My kid has a surgery procedure, I should say, on Wednesday. So maybe like a Thursday or Friday decade show. We can do that and plan for that. Also, maybe add in the year 2019 and make it of decade show and of the year show as well. Just have that be the show. Matt Nuke, but moving on. Matt Nuke, Aquapian, saying this just in, Adam Kownacki will headline a show March 7th at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. The fight will air on Fox. Opponents is still TBD. This was January 1st. And it was later reported first by, I believe it's a Polish reporter, Matsuts Borak. And then by way of Michael Benson, Adam Kownacki versus Dominic Breazeale is reportedly very close to done for March 7th at the Barclays Center in New York. Gary, thoughts on A, Adam Kownacki main eventing another Fox card, and B, it being potentially Dominic Breazeale?
I mean, Breazeale is fine. I mean, I wish it was Luis Ortiz. Or Andy Ruiz. But, I mean, Breazeale...
If we're going to take guys coming off a loss to a champion, I agree. Those are two guys I'd rather see than Dominic Breazeale.
I mean, Dominic Breazeale, I mean, they like him. I mean, I've always thought he was not good. Like, I've been on... When I was a Cole, he's not top 15. I just run up every heavyweight like, yeah, that guy's better than Breazeale. Like, I don't think Breazeale's any good. I think Gerald Washington gives him that work. Like I just don't think Breazeale's good.
Michael Hunter beats him.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, there are people who put him in the top 15. So, I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world. I just don't think
there was a time when he was a top 15 heavyweight. I will say that. I will say this. The top 15 has gotten a little bit deeper in the last year or two.
For sure.
It has. You've had an influx of some young talent.
I mean...
And cruiserweights.
I'm not... Look, I get it. And it's a fine fight. I just, me personally, I don't think Breazeale's any good at all.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. I'm not too hype on this fight. I think it would be a fun heavyweight fight. You know what I mean? Like, it would be fun, obviously. It would be entertaining. It would be a good little slugfest for the heavyweight division. But it's one of those that I don't know if it's what Kownacki needs right now. Like, he needs, like you said, a Luis Ortiz or Andy Ruiz. He needs that step up. That significant step up. And this really isn't it. This is sort of a sidestep in a way from, like, the Chris Ariellos of the world. So, I'm...
Charles Martin.
Yeah, this is a sidestep, and I just don't. I don't see this fight doing much for Adam Kownacki, other than being a Fox main event, and it's going to do 1.5 to 2 million viewers on average. So he's going to be seen by a lot of people again. but it's not one that gets me excited anyway. The two fights you mentioned were obviously far better fights. Luis Ortiz, Andy Ruiz, and fights that get him towards a Deontay Wilder. But that's Eddie's moving on really quick. Eddie is talking about the DAZN $50 a month thing. No one said they're going to double their annual subscription. Gary didn't say that. I didn't say that. I don't know if you're mishearing what we said, Eddie, in the chat. But Gary, you didn't say they were going to double their annual subscription. No one said that. We're talking about their per month price, and we even said that I think framed the conversation at the very beginning, Eddie, by saying their annual subscription's not going to go up. So please listen, guys. Like, the people that listen to the show all the time, I don't give you guys excuses for being stupid. Like, listen to us talk. If you're going to not listen to us talk and just be trolls in the chat, you will get blocked. Like, I just don't have the time for you in 2020 at all. Moving on. Gilberto Ramirez versus Umar Salamov is looking likely for that vacant title. Gary, thoughts on Gilberto Ramirez fighting for that vacant title from obviously Canelo Alvarez, and it most likely being Umar Salamov? No, you're not.
We just wait on that and let Ramirez fight the winner of Jesse Hart, Joe Smith. You just make that guy, because Hart's already ranked 3 by the WBO, right? So then just move him to number 2. Or if Joe Smith wins, then Joe Smith goes number 2 and have Ramirez fight the winner of that. Because that would be that's a real fight for a vacant title.
No, I'm sorry. Salamov is ranked number 2. So, not going to happen, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We should just wait on that. Let Hart versus Smith play out, which is only like a week away. It's 6 days away. So just let it happen. And then move that guy to the number 2 spot and then have those guys fight. So this is like an eliminator. The Smith-Hart fight would be an eliminator for... No,
it's going to be an eliminator for the winner of Gilberto Ramirez Salamov, man. Maybe.
I just feel like the winner of Joe Smith versus Jesse Hart deserves a shot at a title.
Hold on. Stop for a second. If we somehow get a trilogy fight with Ramirez and Hart at 175, I'll be so upset. Because that's something Top Rank would do. Let's be honest, Gary. If Gilberto Ramirez beats Salamov, gets the title, Jesse Hart beats Joe Smith, almost like in a meritocracy state, Jesse Hart has a claim for a title fight. I'm just warning everyone, we might get the trilogy that no one asked for and we don't need. Because let's be honest, I think Jesse Hart is probably going to beat Joe Smith Jr.
I got Joe Smith Jr.
God, man. These guys that are quasi from Texas.
Joe Smith Jr. is from New York.
Yeah. And Ioka's from Japan, sure.
You guys really not like watching Joe Smith Jr. fights?
No, he's a fun fighter. I just don't think he's a top 10 guy.
And the problem is he's got slow white guy problems, right? It's just he's not that athletic. This is
Leonard certainly is asking if Salamov.
He's just not athletic enough.
Leonard is saying Salamov awful. Never watched him. No, he's not bad. I'm gonna say he's not bad at all. He's just not a guy that is a champion. You know what I mean? He's a clear top 20-ish guy, in my opinion, that has some talent, but is kind of at that level and has never really shown me anything to go, oh yeah, he's gonna beat the Bivens, the Peturbias, the Vajdiks, the Kovalevs of the world. I've never seen that at all, in my opinion. Any other thoughts, though, about Gilberto Ramirez?
No.
I know. Shout out to Top Rank's matchmaking. Fantastic.
Gilberto Ramirez is going to fight Chavez Jr. after this fight.
No. Because one's ESPN and one's DAZN.
That's right.
Because DAZN's tied up with Chavez for the next fight. Moving on, Guillermo Rigondeaux. He is back. He's supposed to fight Libero Solis on the December 21st card. I forget what card that was. but it was postponed due to, I think it was visa issues. And now it's rescheduled for the Showtime card on February 8th. I'm trying to remember what card that is exactly. That's not the Danny fight. What fight is that? Gary, come on. You should know this.
February 8th?
Yeah, the 8th.
I didn't know they had a card in February. I thought the only card
Not Showtime. Go to the boxing schedule on ESPN and find out what card that is. I'm curious. I feel like I should know that.
It's. You want to talk about the fight? And I'll get this looked up.
Lazy Lefty, that's you in the chat. The awful opinion that Bob won't take Saudi Arabia. Come on, man. You can't have that opinion. Heath Farley saying hashtag slow white guy problems. Yes.
It's true. You guys remember a basketball player named Jimmer Fredette, like an all-world college player, like great three-point shooter, and then he got to the NBA, like, this guy's going to be good. It's like, no, he's way too slow. He can't guard anyone. He can't run up and down the court. Like, that's like Joe Smith's power. It's like, it's great. It's awesome.
No. Joe Smith's like a Corver. What's his name?
Corver?
Yeah, Kyle Korver. He's definitely a Kyle Korver.
Okay, I'll take that comparison.
Because he's better than the person you mentioned.
Jimmer Fredette. You guys remember him?
No one mentions him. No one remembers him. No one does. Only you, because he's from Texas.
He's not from Texas.
Damn it. I was a guess, but I was close. I forget what I was going to say. Fuck, Gary. Anyway, digressing. Moving on. Guillermo Rigondeaux, Libero Solis. What card is that on, Gary?
I'm looking. I don't. Gary Russell Jr. and King Tug.
It's an ultra hardcore card. I'm not opposed to it. Definitely a card that is obviously the leftovers from Fox. Let's just be honest about it.
Allentown, PA.
Yeah, in a place that makes no sense for anyone involved. This is definitely at a casino with the site fee, right?
I get. Oh yeah,
It has to be.
Probably, it has to be.
Has to be. So Gary, thoughts on Rigondeaux Solis back, and thoughts on it being tied with the Gary Russell King Tug card on Showtime?
Like, I'm a Rigo fan from back in the day. I mean, it is just kind of like Pascal versus Badu Jack. It's kind of like an old man classic. I don't even know if how old? Well, Rigo's really old.
But I don't know how old Solis is, but he's a veteran for sure.
He beat Kohei Kono. I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I mean, that was a while. That was the fight that made him a star. I don't know, like, and he's a 118 pounder. I mean, which is where and I think 115 and 118 is where he made his run.
Yeah.
I don't know how much he has left. I don't even know that he's been that active over the last couple of years or so. It's fine. And if he's got anything left, we'll see it. But I'd rather see Rigo go against one of the upstarts like Fulton or Figueroa. But, I mean, this fight's fine. I mean, I'd rather just see Rigo test one of the young kids and see how they respond to the old veteran.
Oh, my God. I forgot about this. St. Tiago saying, I love Joe Smith Jr., Gary. I even went with Matt to go see him fight live with Hopkins. As I once described him, though, he's high-level basic. That is true. And I want to say that's the card, Santi, that I left early on because I was so bored and upset about the whole card. It was such a bad card. I know the main event obviously ended up being memorable for Hopkins being knocked out of the ring, but I know no one remembers the undercard, and there's a reason why. That thing was atrocious. And that wasn't the card. Santiago, maybe press 1 if you can, or say in the chat. It is. Oh, my God. Okay. So it's the card that was a Christmas card, right? So I want to say it was Golden Boy, right? Because it was Hopkins, obviously. Quickly. Whoa. Gary playing the YouTube video.
That's me.
There was a MC radio guy dressed up as Santa Claus walking around talking the entire event. It was the worst thing ever. It made me realize that Golden Boy was in trouble. And this was years ago. But that event made me go, there's a disconnect here. Is Oscar really on that many drugs that thinks this is a fun atmosphere? The answer is yes. He's on that many drugs. Moving on, though. Just blast from the past there, Santiago. That was a good times. I almost fell asleep on the ride home, man. I was exhausted. That was such a boring event. Moving on, though. Speaking of boring, Frank Warren. Speaking of a not boring fight, though, Joe Joyce down Dubois. He's saying that they've started talks to make that fight this year. The promoter met with Joyce's managerial representatives for discussions today. Gary, obviously that fight's not happening next. We have Joe Joyce trying to find a replacement for the Marco Huck fight. We have, I think Dubois is probably going to take another tune-up or two because he's fighting a lot, it seems. But thoughts on Dubois-Joyce happening, let's say, summertime or third quarter of 2020?
Good. Let's do it. Absolutely. Let's and why is Frank Warren doing this? Like, he's making fights that people want to see against prospect. Like, what is this? Like, what's come over him that he's making fights people want? He did the Gorman fight. Now he's doing this. It's like he wants to see what he has in his prospects instead of just stringing them along till they're 25 and up. It's like this is like some novel idea.
I have some thoughts as to why that is. And it's mainly just because I think they don't have the elastic business model, a la like Eddie Hearn and PBC and others, just due to budgetary restraints. They kind of have to make better fights now.
But Oscar doesn't do it. Oscar still hasn't made Tanahara versus Ryan
Oscar doesn't have to. He has Canelo.
That's true. He's got nothing else, but he's got Canelo.
That golden parachute means he can fuck off the entire year. And they do.
It's true.
But digressing, I like Joyce Dubois. I think you can probably fast track it to like second quarter of 2020, in my opinion. I would do that. I think Dubois is on this stage and on this momentum shift where like he's going to be in the top 10 sooner rather than later because he's pushing himself to that just from his talent and his ability. And Joyce is clearly that guy that is old enough, talented enough, that has the accolades in the amateurs enough that you get that win over him, and it validates him to a lot of hardcores. Even though the Gorman fight should have, Joe Joyce fight will, I think, for a lot of the hardcore hipsters types. They're going to validate Dubois, in my opinion.
Can Dubois be the star that AJ is? Can he be like a crossover sensation, pay-per-view, headliner, celebrity type guy? Everything else that goes with AJ's looks and his physique and his personality and his intelligence. I mean, can Dubois? I don't know anything about Dubois outside of what he can do in the ring. But like, if you wanted to market someone to be a superstar, like AJ's got everything you'd want.
I like how you're saying that AJ is good looking and Dubois isn't. Clearly showing your preference there, Gary. It's fine. No judgment.
Anything about Dubois?
No judgment, Gary. No, this is a judge. This is a judgment-free zone, Gary. Safe space. I think Dubois obviously has a harder hill to climb than AJ. One, the difference between Sky and BT is just evident from everyone that talks to me from the UK. I'm not there, so I don't know, but everyone in the UK always says the Sky's presence and machine is just a different level than BT. So I think that's an uphill battle to climb, that you don't have the Sky machine behind you. Also, Matchroom is just a bigger entity than Queensberry Promotions. It just is, in every sense of the word. It's just a bigger promotion. So that gives AJ more ability and more corporate clout than Queensberry Promotions. Also, I will say this, though. People really bash AJ for his personality. I think AJ is a very charismatic person. The way he talks, the presence he has on camera, you can't teach that to a degree. Like, that's just like innate. And he has it. I don't know if Dubois has that, to be honest. Like, I don't really see that personality, that charisma, that ability to walk into a room and, people just pay attention to you because of your presence. AJ has that. Like Deontay Wilder has that. There's certain guys, Spence has that. Certain guys have that. Dubois, I don't know if he has that. And that might be the biggest hill to climb because that's something you just can't teach. A la Terence Crawford. You know, it's very hard to turn yourself into a superstar. Very difficult. It's almost impossible. Very few guys have done it in combat sports and prize fighting overall. And I don't think Breazeale is really the personality to do that. Because you have to have a very bombastic, fake persona to do that most of the time. A la Floyd Mayweather, a la Chael Sonnen, a la Colby Covington. You have to create this over-the-top persona that's not real because you don't have any real personality to you. And you have to just create it out thin out and work it. Like you said, you have to workshop it. It has to be like a comedy act that you go and work and drill. Breazeale doesn't have that, in my opinion. To answer your point, Gary. I think he's an extreme talent. He might be better than AJ long-term in terms of talent-wise. But star power, AJ is one of those once-in-a-generation types in the UK.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like, having the ability is only a piece of the puzzle. It's not like...
And it's often the least important piece. Let's be Adrian fucking Broner.
Broner, people thought had that for a while. It turns out it was all hype, you know.
Mm-hmm. But even after we all found out his hype, he still draws. He's still like...
That's true.
You know, like, you know, him being a pedophile after Bad Barbie or whatever her name is, right? The Catch Me Outside girl, because she's still 16, DMing her.
Is that who it was?
Yeah.
I thought it was a sick... So he knew he do. Wow.
He says he didn't, but I mean, dude, come on. I know like pop culture and mainstream podcasts that just talk about like regular news. They brought that up. Why? Because it's Adrian Broner. Like, you know, like star power, charisma, that shit matters. And in terms of drawing power, it matters far more than talent. Adrian Broner can still walk into a room and every media member turns their head. Like, every person turns their head. Like, he still has that presence when he walks into a room. Not saying he's a good person, not saying anything like that, but he has that charisma to him. He's a star. Breazeale doesn't really have that.
It would have been funny if when Broner responded, he said, I didn't text that girl. Catch me outside. How about that? That... What? Like... That girl is like, what about that is so so awesome? Catch me outside. How about that?
Oh my god. Anyways.
Dr. Phil's like, what did you say? She's like, catch me outside. How about that? Dr. Phil's like, catch you outside. How about that? It was like the best 5 seconds of television ever, and I have no idea why.
Last couple of topics, and we're gonna wrap up the show, guys. Sergey Kuzman posted a sparring video where he knocked out his sparring partner out cold today, or I think it was yesterday. And a lot of people in the boxing community pointed out that this is kind of in bad taste, and I tend to agree. Plus, it's like I don't know, like Kuzman's a guy that does he really need to do this to a degree? He's already kind of a known prospect in the heavyweight division. But Gary, thoughts on overall like sharing these types of videos for fighters? Like, are you in favor of it? Are you against it at all?
I thought sparring sessions were supposed to stay private. I don't know. It's kind of like
I'm okay with like a picture and stuff like that, or like even like a video of a very tamed sparring session. I like the Loma and when he sparred TJ Dillashaw, the UFC champion at the time.
Yeah,
like I get that, right? But if you're sparring for a fight and you knock out your sparring partner, that should not be shown. That's automatically going to create a bad relationship with that sparring partner, his coach, his team, and probably means he doesn't work with you again. Don't do that. And I'll be honest, I've been in like gyms with world champions, Wilder, Thurman, Spence, etc., where they've knocked out guys in sparring, and the way they react to it is very different than Sergey Kuzman here. Like, I've seen Wilder hurt someone and instantly stop the sparring session and, like, hold them. Like, you okay, man? Like, just we're going to sit down here, like, and, like, coach them through it, you know? Sergey Kuzman drops his guy and just walks to the corner nonchalant. And then he turns and sees him down the ground and just keeps walking back like it's nothing. Doesn't do anything.
You think it was staged?
I have seen a little bit of that out there. I don't know if it's staged. Like I'm looking at the punch right now. It looked a little clean, but there is a rope in the way. I don't know, Gary. Like, do you think it's staged? If it's staged, even worse. Like, how corny are you to stage that shit?
I'm a conspiracy guy. I think it's staged.
That's worst.
I mean, if you knock out your sparring partner, Cole, that's a guy that's, you would have some kind of response. You wouldn't, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the part that makes me think it's staged. You would go see if he's okay. You wouldn't go walk to your corner like he's going to go get an 8 count or possibly wave the fight off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
I've never seen anyone do that in World Championship sparring.
Right.
I've never seen that behavior. I've seen it happen in like gym rivalries. You know, certain guys don't like each other in the gym and they go to war. Right. I've seen that, but that's when the entire gym is fully aware that these two guys hate each other. We're going to be on deck for anything happening. Coaches are all on deck. You have multiple coaches there. I've seen that in the gym a lot, but that's different than what happened here. Like, I'm not gonna say it's staged like Gary, but man, that it does seem weird. And either way you split it, it's nasty behavior. Either he was serious here, and that's just, you shouldn't be leaking this information out. You shouldn't be posting this information out. It's just unsportsmanlike conduct. And if it's faked, man, you are fucking corny, Kuzman. And I am more disinterested in watching you fight than ever before. Moving on, let's see if anything else to say, Gary. Denis Lebedev announces his retirement after he lost against Tabiso Muchuno in December. Just want to say, great career to Denis Lebedev. I don't know about Hall of Famer, but I mean, let me give him his flowers, his fireworks, everything. Guy deserves it. I mean, he put on a ton of fun fights over the last decade and a half, let's say, right? The last 15 years of his career. And a fighter that I always really liked watching in the cruiserweight division. Like, he was one of those guys, if he was fighting, I pay attention to for a very long time. Plus, he beat Roy Jones. The greatest fighter ever. Gary, thoughts on Denis Lebedev announcing his retirement from the sport?
Well, first, Roy Jones Jr. is the GOAT, so you got that right. Do you think Rob is shedding any tears? Because he had a far better career than $1 Million Crawler. And we couldn't keep it together when he retired. So, I mean, do you think it's like a national day of mourning or celebration? Or I don't know, they're happy tears or sad tears? What kind of...
Well, not in the UK, obviously, but in Russia?
Is Russia, Ukraine? Is he Russia?
He's Russian.
Russian, yeah. He's a good fighter. He beat Coyote. He had a great fight late in his career against Gassiev, which was a really good fight. I mean, Guillermo Jones, he beat, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's got good wins. He's a good fighter. I mean, I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
He's like a Linares.
There you go.
He's like a Linares. So, like, in a bad year, he might slip in the Hall of Fame, because that does happen, a la Ray Mancini.
He beat James Toney, too. So he got Roy Jones and James Toney, 2 of the 10 best fighters of their era.
And
James, 50 years old.
James Toney, the best inside fighter of his time. Yeah, I'll say it. I just want to, I've always been a fan of Lebedev. Shout out to him. And like you said, that Gassiev fight, that was a really good fight. Really good fight. Everyone should go back and watch that one. Last topic of the day, and also cruiserweights. Krzysztof Kownacki and Lawrence Okolie could share a show with Gennady Golovkin and his mandatory Kamil Zemirata, possibly March 28th in Chicago, according to Eddie Hearn. So, yeah. And that's by way of IFL as well. We get it by way of Michael Benson. Thoughts on Kownacki, Okolie, co-main event to Triple G versus Zemirata.
No thoughts really.
Why is this card in the U.S.? Why is this not in Eastern Europe?
They have to fill a date, so that he's got. Is it in Chicago?
We literally have a quote from Eddie Hearn saying, "Oh, now that we're with DAZN, we can go to any venue, any place, any time, and have a fight. It doesn't matter. We're streaming." and they still think of themselves as a TV network. Because again, both these fights we're talking about, Triple G, Zamarata, 2 Eastern European fighters, Kownacki, Okoli, 2 European fighters. Why are they main eventing and co-main eventing in the U.S. when their fan bases are not naturally in the U.S.? I don't know. I don't know. But I will say this. I do like the Kownacki-Okoli fight because it means that we can stop talking about Okoli being a contender and a prospect because he's going to lose. And we can just move on. And I know Rob is going to have a tough time with it. And he's going to pick Okoli. But Kownacki is going to win, and Triple G is going to win, and all the Polish and Eastern Europeans in Chicago are going to be happy there. But it seems like a missed opportunity to try to experiment and put these guys in their actual countries of origin and see how they perform.
Kownacki's definitely going to win. So you're 2 for 2. You got Roy Jones as the GOAT, and Kownacki's going to win.
Thanks, Gary. That'll be it for today's show. It's been a long one on today. I'm glad that you guys are here and stayed with us. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hit the like button. Share the show. Patreon.com/Mixed Combat Radio. All those links are down below in the description. You can find me, Matt Hunter, MCR, on all social media platforms. And obviously, we've discussed DAZN owning 40% of Matchroom Boxing LLC's shares, and really, I think, showing that they're committed to boxing for at least the short term. What the long term means, I don't know, but we will see. Plus, a ton of other topics. Wilder Fury press conference gets announced. Duh. Can't believe it took that long. Terence Crawford having his hype man call out everyone in still lame fashion. Don't know how you can do that. Just a lot we talked about in today's show, so make sure you just rewind if you miss anything. Plus, obviously, we're going to clip out any of the fun topics and put them later on the YouTube channel. Gary.
We did go long today. Good show today. For not a lot of, I guess there was odd news. It's not a lot of breaking news, but it was a good show. I hope everyone's having a good New Year. Hope everyone's has a great 2020. Hope 2020 is even better than 2019. Find me on all forms of social media at 3D Boxing. Remember, if you're going to be in San Antonio, if you're going to be in Texas this week, Gia fights. Like O'Sullivan, who's awful. So make sure to check that out.
Also the this week or next week? Hold on.
No, you got Shields and you got the Joe Smith fight and all this week. So it's a pretty good week.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. The Joe Smith fight's this week, huh? I forgot about that. That's this week.
Yeah, it's in the same venue, I think. I think the Shields fight is Friday night and the Joe Smith fight Saturday night.
Really?
I think so. I know they're both in Atlantic City. I think they're both in the same venue.
Interesting, huh?
So pretty good week of boxing.
Yeah, we're gonna break down those fights either tomorrow or on Tuesday. So don't worry, guys. We're gonna break down all the fights coming up on the weekend later on. Sorry, Gary. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
From Texas to the world, good night and God bless.
Peace.